Hey, it's Monday. All day. You ready to do another exciting edition of The Drive right here on Super Talk 99.7? Nice, cool day. 80 degrees, really. I mean, that's not bad. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some of it, of course, you know about, and some of it you haven't heard about yet because, well, the mainstream media are keeping it from you. But we'll try to fix that right here on this program. Tonight, Joe Biden will go to the Democrat National Convention and give what is essentially his farewell speech. After this, we probably won't hear from Joe Biden all that much because, he's yesterday's news. He's, as we like to say, a lame duck, a very angry lame duck. He's bitter and angry and mad. And understandably so, because basically he was thrown out in a coup. But there is that. He'll give his speech. But, on the day that he's giving that speech, House Republicans have issued what you can only describe as a blistering report that would justify his impeachment, delivering a political black eye to Biden just hours before he speaks on the opening night of the Democrat National Committee. This from the New York Post. It goes over a 291-page report of abuse of power, obstruction of justice, obstruction of Congress, and it is all being put forth by the Republicans in the House. Now, as a practical matter, Joe Biden is not going to be impeached. They don't have the votes. There's a question where they have the votes in the House. They certainly would not have the votes in the Senate. And so as a practical matter, it's not going to go anywhere. They're just going to ride it out. But it is damning, nonetheless, to look at the corruption of the Biden family. The report says that Biden engaged in an abuse of power, an obstruction of justice, or obstruction of Congress by corruptly abetting and concealing a $27 million influence peddling racket, which warrant proceedings that could result in his removal from office. This is a report from 3 House committees. Quote, Joe Biden has exhibited conduct and taken actions that the founders sought to guard against in drafting the impeachment provisions in the Constitution. Abuse of power, foreign entanglements, corruption, obstruction of investigation into these matters. The committee's investigative work have revealed that the Biden family, with the full knowledge and cooperation of President Biden, has engaged in a global influence peddling racket from which they made millions of dollars. The compiled interview transcript from 30 witnesses, including the issuing of another 30 subpoenas to compel testimony, and it resulted in millions of pages of business contracts, bank records, and other documents. The report accuses Biden of aiding the shady business ventures of first son Hunter Biden and his brother James Biden, and then attempting to cover the family's tracks by resisting oversight from Congress. Biden knowingly participated in a conspiracy to monetize his Office of Public Trust to enrich his family during and after his time as vice president in the Obama administration. Joe Biden's participation in his family influence peddle represents, as qualified by sheer dollar amounts flowing to a public official's personal interest, one of the most egregious abuses of power uncovered in the history of the United States. The report alleges as much as $18 million allegedly flowed from foreign entities to shell companies and other accounts linked to First family members from corrupt dealings that sold the quote-unquote Biden brand to associates in Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Russia, and China. Biden's family associates, including former Hunter Biden business partners who testified to the panels, nabbed another $9 million in profits. The president met, spoke on the phone with, and at times dined with foreign patrons, implying to them that in exchange for the payments, they had access to Joe Biden that could project their business interests, the report by the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means Committee says. Biden is not expected, of course, to be impeached by the House, where Republicans hold a narrow 220 to 212 majority, in part because of reluctance from a handful of Republicans, but also because of the diminished political salience that Biden has since he has dropped his bid for a second term. Some of the foreign dealings are likely to be probed in detail next month at Hunter's federal tax trial in Los Angeles for allegedly evading $1.4 million in taxes between 2016 and 2019. There you go. Wow. Well, that sounds really bad, Brian. It does sound bad. And unfortunately, the politics of the situation make it absolutely impossible to take this information and to go forward with any kind of impeachment measure against Joe Biden. They don't have the votes in the House, and they certainly don't have the votes in the Senate. But this report is damning, and it talks a little bit about how, really you don't have to, the money doesn't have to go directly to Biden for there to be corruption. That's the thing that most people lose sight of. Everybody thinks, well, did you prove that any of this money went into Joe Biden's account? Well, there was one account that was just Biden. We never did figure out who the Biden was. It just said Biden. So, maybe it did go to Joe's account, but even if it didn't, even if not one penny made its way to Joe Biden, this is still a corrupt enterprise because he allowed members of his family to be enriched all the time. The Justice Department takes cases against politicians because some member of the family was enriched, not directly the politician, but a daughter, a wife, a brother, a sibling, somebody got money due to the influence peddling of the elected official. Some of this happened when he was vice president of the United States. Now, if there was a Justice Department that was worth its salt, if there was a truly independent Justice Department, not one run by Merrick Garland, but one that would actually look at the facts and decide whether or not a case could be made, there is a case here to be made against Joe Biden. And we know he's going to be leaving office in a few months. Now, they will not go after a sitting president. They just won't. But once that person comes out of office, as we have seen, cases can be brought. Will a case be brought against Joe Biden? Well, it depends, I think, on who is running that Justice Department, whether it's somebody chosen as Attorney General by Kamala Harris or somebody chosen as Attorney General by Donald Trump. That will make a big difference. Other headlines, just the news. House probe concludes Joe Biden committed impeachable offenses by helping to enrich his family. The 291-page report lays out evidence of the Biden family's foreign payments and the family patriarch's role in meeting or speaking with partners. Here's another take from the Federalist. House report, Joe Biden's obstruction, sale of government power to foreign adversaries merits impeachment. It does merit impeachment. It really does. And if it were a fair and level playing field, that would happen. The Federalist writes, House Republicans published a nearly 300-page report Monday presenting lengthy evidence indicating Joe Biden, the president, guilty of impeachable offenses. Republicans on the House Oversight and Ways Means Committee released the one joint report following a years-long impeachment inquiry, concluding first and foremost, the overwhelming evidence demonstrates that President Biden participated in a conspiracy to monetize his office of public trust to enrich his family. House Speaker Mike Johnson urged Americans to read the GOP report on what the three committees inquiry called President Biden's impeachable conduct. House Republicans commend through the diligent and thoughtful work of Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means Committee, Johnson said in the statement. We encourage all Americans to read this. And it will read the report, which details the extent of President Biden's corrupt practices and the extent to which the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat Party have attempted to conceal these facts from the American people. See, it's not just that he did it. It's that he actively worked to conceal the information from Congress. The impeachment inquiry states that it's an impeachable conduct, including abuse of power. The totality of the corrupt conduct uncovered by the committees is egregious. President Joe Biden conspired to commit influence peddling and grift. In doing so, he abused his office and by repeatedly lying about his abuse in office has defrauded the United States to enrich his family. So Joe Biden, tonight, he'll be on TV. He'll be, warmly greeted by the Democrats in Chicago. They will give him a good send-off. They will make him feel like, you have done a great thing for America by stepping down. You've done a great job as president. It will be glowing. It will be warm. And Joe Biden will be, just licking it all up, just absorbing it all. And little will be said about this matter. I mean, the stories that I'm reading come from organizations that you must say would be probably lean a little to the right. New York Post, big piece, justthenews.com, The Federalist, Newsmax. These are all organizations that will report the thing that the mainstream media you won't see one bit of this tonight on ABC, CBS, NBC. I doubt you'll see anything on CNN. You might see a little bit on Fox and Newsmax, but it's only because, they are fair and balanced. But you're not going to see it on any other mainstream news organization. They will look at, it came from House Republicans, so it's a biased report. Well, it's easy to say that, but look at the evidence that they bring forward. You can say you don't trust the source, but can you deny the information that has been uncovered in their report? Remember, they had subpoena power. They could get things that the Democrats, when they were in control, had no interest at all in getting at. The Justice Department has the ability to get this information, but of course, they were unwilling to do so. Joe Biden, very likely, I think most assuredly, committed impeachable offenses. He should not be the sitting president of the United States. This is a damning report, and if there was any kind of even playing field in American politics or in American culture today, the American people would be outraged. This information is solid. This information is backed up by documents. This information is backed up from many, many, many interviews that were conducted of people who were on the front line and who knew exactly what was going on. It will not be covered. There won't be one report on mainstream media about this. And that is a damn shame. 20 minutes now past the hour. Let's talk about Restoration Wellness and Med Spa. Let the team at Restoration Wellness help you achieve your summer goals because, summer is here still and you want to lose weight, right? Restoration Wellness is a leader in weight loss management in Wilson County. Call the Restoration Wellness team today at 615-470-8124. And visit them at their website, restorationwellnessmedspa.com, to book a consultation today. I can tell you that this program works. It has worked for me. I mean, I stepped on it's good news. I mean, I step on the scale every day, and when I do, it's lower and lower and lower. And it's been the easiest thing in the world. And by the way, I never got hungry, not one time. My friends Carly and Jamie will take care of you like you're part of the family. So be a part of the more than 1,000 patients who have already seen life-changing results from the weight loss management program. Weight loss can increase your energy levels, improve your quality of sleep, enhance your overall health. These are customized treatment plans, not one size fits all. Restoration Wellness considers your unique needs, lifestyle, and goals. So whether your goal is to lose stubborn body fat or improve your overall health, Restoration Wellness has a solution for you. Learn about the newest advances in weight loss management. Just go to restorationwellnessmedspa.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Protesters continuing to gather outside the site of the DNC in Chicago. Donald Trump speaking today before factory workers in a battleground state. And here locally, police are investigating what they're calling a targeted shooting in Donaldson. We'll have those stories at 3:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hey, everybody. It is 25 minutes past the hour. That's Jay Harper in the newsroom. Hello, Jay. And there is Chris Weber behind the glass, pushing all the blinky buttons and keeping me under control, which, that's what you do in the control room. Everybody thinks the control room is where you control all of the sound that goes out over the air.
Yeah.
But really, the control room is where you sit and control me.
Yeah, I'm not doing a very good job of it either.
No, that's not. Yeah, did you have a good weekend? Everything good?
Yeah, good as it can be,
Yep. It was
special.
We dodged serious bad weather. Nothing really caused too many trouble.
A nice little shower, though.
Yeah, I got a little rain, and I look at the rain as two things. Number one, I don't have to water, I don't water. The Cabana wife waters. Let's just be honest about it. She goes out and does the watering, so we don't have to water all of the new plants when it rains. So that's good.
Yep.
And then I look at it from the standpoint of I don't have to fill the pool up because
Mother Nature did it for you.
Mother Nature did it for me. That's right. Last night, sitting on the couch, I looked out the window and I said to Cabana wife, we were sitting there watching some TV. I said, "Oh my gosh, we got to go outside and look at the moon," because it appeared to me to be a beautiful full moon, but apparently, technically, tonight is the full moon, as I understand it.
Okay.
I think it happens during the day, but they probably the fullest moon that we'll have will be tonight. And I'm reading this. It says this is also a blue moon.
So it's
I don't know why.
Second one of the month?
Well, it doesn't seem. Maybe there was one, but that doesn't seem right. But that's what it says here. I'm reading this story.
I mean, the 19th, it doesn't seem like that would be.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like it.
Case.
The full supermoon of September 18th will be a super harvest moon. And plus it'll undergo a partial lunar eclipse. Then we got one in October. So we got tonight is a supermoon. September 18th is a supermoon. October 17th is a supermoon. And November 15th is a supermoon. Which means that it all has to do with the orbit of the moon, which is not perfectly, it's not a perfect circle. It has a high and low point. And so the moon is actually closer to Earth now than it would be, when it's at it. I believe they call that the apogee versus the perigee. I don't know.
Well, big words.
I've forgotten which is which. But I think we're at apogee. And 2024 has had a lot of supermoons. There were 5 supermoons earlier this year, 4 supermoons in a row coming up. And so tonight would be a good night to go out and look at the moon. You say, well, I've seen the moon. Yeah, but when it comes up over the horizon, what you got to understand is that the atmosphere of the Earth actually acts as sort of a magnifying lens on the moon. Mm-hmm. So just as it comes up over the horizon, it will appear larger than it normally does because, you get that sort of enhancement at the edge by looking through all of the atmosphere. And so it will look larger. It will look more colorful. It will be what is known as a supermoon. It is only right now 224,917 miles away from Earth.
Oh, that's all.
Wow. Well, that's all. That's all. But that's pretty close. The closest ones will be, I think, in October. It'll be 222,055 miles. So that'll be the closest of the supermoons we're having. So, I love this stuff. I think it's great. But here, this is what we got. And so tonight, even though last night's full moon was really something, apparently the official full moon, the official supermoon is tonight.
Got it. Well, hopefully we have good viewing weather for it tonight.
Yeah, I hope
think it
so.
should be.
Yeah, I hope that's the case. So there you go. I wish Mac Morey was here because he always used to talk about how I was, keeping everybody abreast of the latest moon information.
He was really into that. He loved that when you gave the moon updates.
Yeah, I'm not sure he did. But anyway, one way or the other. We ought to call back and get him to we needed to get him to be come in and talk about sports every once in a while.
We've given him enough time to settle in case.
Yeah, he's in Kansas City now. He's got the lay of the land. He's got all moved in. But he said we could do it. He works mornings, so we can wake him up in the middle of his afternoon nap and get him to do that. I'm pretty sure
he'll love that. I'm sure
he'll love that. I love knowing Mac and his love of taking a good nap. But no, I think we should do that because Oh, and by the way, I don't want anybody to get the wrong idea. But apparently something got posted on the internet, which was an old Super Talk 99.7 logo. And, years ago, this logo, which said when Super Talk first became the thing, and we called it Super Talk, it did say news, sports, and talk.
Yes, that is true.
But it really never... Sports really never became a thing that we did in a huge way. We do glancing blows at it now and then because sports is sometimes news.
Sure.
But I don't want people to, they saw that on the internet and they think, there's going to be a big change.
Happen?
Yeah, no. This is just an old logo. I think they hung it up in the talent office.
I think that's the plan, or if they haven't already, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what happened.
Brian, it's actually in the booth where the traffic center is.
Oh, that's right. There?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, there's 2 of them. There is that one that's in there, but there's another one that for the longest time was just kind of hanging free.
Around. It was just laying around there in the office. Yeah. So apparently it's been put on the wall, but don't read anything into that. We're still going to do what we do. If there's sports that's newsworthy, we'll talk about it. Because That's what we always say, is news talk. But it's not that we're radically changing our format. Just wanted everybody to know.
Or changing it at all, for that matter.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's time. I've gone over, Jay. My apologies. Time for the news with Jay Harper.
Hey, apology accepted. It's 3:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly cloudy. We're at 83 degrees now. A forecast and a traffic report with the other logo are coming up here shortly. The number of protesters growing outside the convention center in Chicago on this first day of the Democratic National Convention. Protesters are calling for an arms embargo on Israel and for the Biden-Harris administration to call a permanent ceasefire in Gaza. ABC's Matt Gutman reports.
Police telling me they don't expect violence, but this is obviously probably the major day for protests here, especially because President Biden is speaking a little bit later today. One of the things that we're going to see are these rolling barricades of officers. That's what we saw yesterday in the first major march.
Former President Trump out campaigning today and speaking at a factory in York, Pennsylvania, ahead of the Democratic National Convention. Trump talking about his plans for the U.S. economy.
Our plan will massively cut taxes, unlock American energy, slash regulations, big factor, crack down on trade cheaters and stop outsourcing, rebuild our industrial base and bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA.
Here in Nashville, Fox 17 News reporting that one person is dead after a shooting in Donaldson overnight along Maple Crest Drive. Metro Police say the man who was murdered, they think, was set up and lured to the home. Police say the investigation shows that the victim, who has not been publicly identified, arrived at the location just before 1 o'clock this morning with a woman who led him toward the rear of the property, which was a short-term rental. Police say a gunman was waiting nearby, ran up on the victim and shot him multiple times. The victim died at the scene. The gunman and the woman fled together. Anyone with any information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
All right, is your back hurting? You know what? The chances are that is just pressure on your nerves. And no pill or magic cream can solve that problem. You really have only a couple of choices. One of them is surgery. The other is non-invasive, non-surgical spinal decompression. Now, I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. It has helped me with my neck and my lower back. Their state-of-the-art facilities, their high-tech equipment offer the cutting-edge non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is so important, Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley are offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. And if you're a new patient, listen, this is a good deal. You get an exam, an x-ray if you need one, a consultation, and then they will give you your first treatment, and all of that is only $23. Then, when you come back, half off non-surgical procedures. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
I'm leaning towards Trump.
And why is that?
A lot of the stuff Kamala says is kind of like what Trump has said, like no taxes on tips was something that was kind of reiterated by Trump beforehand. She's just kind of been caught up in a lot of lies.
Well, I mean, the fact of the matter is that when you talk to people in America, they say, all the polling shows this, that the one thing that Trump leads on is the economy. And so, tonight, as the Democrats gather in Chicago to kick off their big convention and hear a speech from Joe Biden and some other washed-up Democrats, Kamala needs to talk about, her economic policies in a greater way. She needs to answer questions about it, for one. You see, when she's on the fly, somebody caught her at an event and stuck a mic in her phone and a microphone in her face and then asked her a question. Oh my gosh, couldn't believe that happened. But she spouts a bunch of babble. It doesn't make any sense at all. How are you going to pay for your child care provisions? How are you going to pay for all the stuff that you say you're going to do?
You unveiled some economic policies last week.
Yeah.
Can you explain how you're going to pay for those? And can you give us a sense of what other policies you want to unveil going forward?
Sure. Well, I mean, you just look at it in terms of what we are talking about, for example, around children and the child tax credit and extending the EITC. It's at $6,000 for the first year of a child's life. The return on that investment in terms of what that will do and what it will pay for will be tremendous. We've seen it when we did it in the first year of our administration. We reduced child poverty by over 50%. So that's a lot of the work. And then what we're doing in terms of the tax credits, we know that there's a great return on that investment. And when we increase home ownership in America, what that means in terms of increasing the tax base, not to mention property tax base, what that does to fund schools, again, return on investment. I think it's a mistake for any person who talks about public policy to not critically evaluate how you measure the return on investment. When you are strengthening neighborhoods, strengthening communities, and in particular the economy of those communities, and investing in a broad-based economy, everybody benefits, and it pays for itself.
Pays for itself. It's just magical. Apparently, somewhere showed her a Venn diagram that had the term return on investment.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
Because she said return on investment. We'll invest and we'll get a return on our investment. Well, what do you? Yeah, it's magical thinking. Don't worry, we're going to spend all this money, but it'll be fine. Everything will work out in the end. When Democrats start talking like that, you need to be worried. Hold on to your pocketbook because you're about to get it. You're about to get stuck pretty good. Return on investment. She doesn't know anything about the economy. She doesn't know anything about the way this all works. And she needs to answer questions. I mean, even when her what do you call them? The people to go out and speak on behalf of you, your surrogates. Your surrogates are out there. You got Gretchen Whitmer out there on behalf of the vice president, and she's on NBC, and she's supposed to be answering questions for the campaign and for Kamala Harris, and she can't do it at all. Listen how she deflects. I have to say, pretty good questions coming from the reporter at NBC News.
Among other things, she's proposing a ban on price gouging. Here is what Obama administration economist Jason Furman had to say. He said, quote, "This is not sensible policy. And I think the biggest hope is that it ends up being a lot of rhetoric and not reality. There's no upside here, and there is some downside." He warned effectively that price controls could ultimately stifle economic growth. So do you think that's the best way to bring down prices in Michigan?
Well, I think people are reading too much into what has been put out there.
Well, no, we're reading exactly into what has been put out there. She said that the problem was price gouging and that she was going to work to stop price gouging, which honestly, this whole price gouging thing, it's the Democrats lament anytime there's inflation. Anytime that inflation becomes bad, and it was really bad, it went from 4% when Donald Trump left office up to 9.1%, and it's slowly come back. And since then, you've lost a lot of ground. The things that you have got there and you try to purchase with your dollars don't go as far. They just don't go as far because things cost more. And even though inflation has come down, we're still paying the price when you look at how much you have lost. And by the way, your wages may have gone up a little, but they are not gone up enough to keep up. You're about 24% in the hole since Joe Biden took office. That's the bottom line there. And so when she talks about, oh, don't worry, we're gonna take care of price gouging because we're gonna have Soviet era price controls. That's right. She's Comrade Kamala, don't worry, we've got these great socialistic, communistic ideas about how to control the economy. You're going to love it. It's going to be fine. And it'll all pay for itself.
Return on investment, man.
Yeah, return on investment. It sounds good. But she doesn't know what she's talking about. She wouldn't know a return on investment if it bit her on the butt. Meanwhile, President Trump is out there talking about economic policies and pointing out, you know what? You just need to remember, as you Democrats gather there in Chicago to talk about everything that you love about Kamala, remember who actually fixed the economy.
We'll massively cut taxes, unlock American energy, slash regulations, big factor. Crack down on trade cheaters and stop outsourcing, rebuild our industrial base and bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA. And we were doing that 4 years ago and starting to do really well. Together we will reclaim our nation's destiny as the #1 manufacturing superpower in the world. We will do it. And China won't even be close. Nobody will be. Every policy in Kamala Harris's radical liberal playbook sends jobs and wealth to other countries. The jobs go to other countries, and the wealth goes to other countries. Every policy in the Trump agenda is designed to bring the jobs and wealth back home to America, where it belongs and where it's going to stay. Kamala puts America last. I put America first. Some facts that are interesting. The year before I took office, the United States lost over 10,000 manufacturing jobs. Everybody said you'd never bring it back. But under my leadership, we created more than 500,000 manufacturing jobs in less than 3 years. After decades of wage stagnation and income surged, we had a surge like nobody's ever seen before. But it surged for everybody during the Trump administration. Every group, everybody, men, women, every household was at a level that they've never really experienced before. Everyone was better off when you had a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump at the helm. Does anybody know him?
So there's Trump, relatively on message today. I think his campaign has heard the many things that have been said, and he seems to be more on message. More on that a little bit later. Listen, there are a lot of people who are are raising legitimate questions about what we know so far about the Kamala Harris economic policies, as such as they are. I mean, we get bits and pieces. We get little headlines. We get little snippets, but we don't get any real details. And they don't post it. They don't really want to know. Here's what the red state has reported. She doesn't need to negotiate against herself. Democrats beg Harris to hide her radical agenda before the November elections. That is her plan. That is exactly what she's doing. She's not going to answer many questions. She's not going to go out there and explain things. She's not going to give people, the satisfaction of having answers. She's just going to come out, hit her mark, read her stuff, and then dash off before anybody can ask any serious questions. She doesn't need to explain herself. But I'm telling you, if you get a situation where real reporters can ask real questions, those questions are going to be hard for her to answer, especially, about the things she had said in the past, which, we talk about all the time here because we have the Wayback Machine. We'll do that again later, too. Meanwhile, Trump and Vance campaign unveils plan to barnstorm the battleground states. Today, he had an event focused on the economy, as you heard, and energy in York, Pennsylvania. And Vance will host an event with the same theme in Philadelphia. Tuesday brings events focused on crime and safety, with Trump hosting one in Detroit and Vance holding another in Kenosha, Wisconsin. I'm glad to see that they're out there on the campaign trail. They need, instead of doing these big rallies with, a lot of people, which Trump loves. He loves it when a lot of people show up. I would rather, instead of having a 2-hour speech with Donald Trump, where he feeds the base, I would rather see, 5 events a day out of the campaign, given 25-minute speeches that stay on point. That would do him so much more good. They're easy to put together. You do them at airports. You get a big hangar, you roll up, you walk down, you hit your mark, you read your teleprompter, you shake a few hands, you say hello, and then you get on the plane and go to the next stop, and the next stop, and the next stop. That's what needs to be done. Forget the big rallies. They're all nice and great, and everybody loves them, and Trump loves them when a lot of people show up. But I got to tell you, they need to be doing this stuff. They need to be hitting the ground running 2, 3, 4 events a day if they're going to have any real impact. It is 50 minutes now past the hour of 3 o'clock. Hey, are your retirement assets structured to minimize taxes? Could be hard to believe, but many hardworking Americans just like you are likely overpaying on taxes in retirement, or could be. You may be taxed on your IRA, your 401k, any other tax-deferred retirement accounts. Beacon Capital Management is here to give you the peace of mind. With the threat of massive tax increases just around the corner, your nest egg could be in trouble unless you take advantage of defensive tax-saving strategies now. Defend your hard-earned retirement savings by scheduling a free retirement tax reduction analysis today. No cost, no pressure, no obligation. If you've saved more than $250,000 for retirement, don't wait any longer. Schedule your free retirement tax reduction analysis from Beacon. Just call this number, 615-488-9303, or visit askbeaconnow.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Chicago police trying to help keep tensions low outside the site of the Democratic National Convention. The president, he's set to deliver tonight's keynote address at the DNC. And across the Atlantic, the Secretary of State working to ease tensions in the Middle East. We'll have those stories at 4 p.m. on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, 57 minutes past the hour. Take a look at the markets. Dow Jones Industrials up a big old 236 points. S&P up 54. NASDAQ up 245 points. That's like 1.3, almost 1.4%. What's driving the market on this green day? Let's check in with John Maxon over at Beacon Capital Management for more on that. Hello, John.
Hey, good afternoon, Brian. Yeah, the market had another positive day. It continues to really rebound from the early August sell-off. It's the 8th straight green day for the S&P and the NASDAQ. Really what's happened over the last week or so is fears in the market have seemed to be declining with better inflation numbers and consumer spending numbers that were up. One of the things that was interesting today is the U.S. Leading economic indicators came out, which is a pretty major report, and that actually declined more than expected, but the market seemed to kind of shake that off. There's going to be several reports that we're going to be watching this week, but in particular, the Fed chairman is going to be speaking on Friday, and the market's going to be looking for clues about potential interest rate decreases and how much at their September meeting, but a good day today.
All right. Thank you very much, John. Listen, to find out more about all the things that Beacon Capital Management can do to help you get ready for your retirement, just go to their website for more details. AskBeaconNow.com. 58 minutes past the hour of 3 o'clock. All right, D.T. McCall's a family-run business that's been in business here in Middle Tennessee for not 50 years, not 75 years, more than a century. Really, honestly. It started with one location, of course, grew to 5 locations over time, and there's one near you. And how does this happen? How does a family-owned business last for more than 100 years? Well, I would say to you, it comes with having a reputation for dealing with people in an honest and forthright way. I mean, they're good people, and they'll deal with you honestly. They don't play games like the big box stores do. They're not going to charge you extra for delivery, for setup, or for haul away. No, they will give you a price that includes all that, and it'll be a great price. So if you need furniture, you need appliances, you need power tools to work outside around your yard, just about anything you could think of for your home, you're going to find it at D.T. McCall's. And you can find out more about their 5 convenient locations, one of which has got to be near you, by going to their website, dtmccalls.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Good afternoon. It is 1 minute past 4 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. A mix of clouds and sun. We're at 83 degrees. Your forecast and a traffic report are upcoming. Not far from the site of the Democratic National Convention, a large demonstration has been transformed into a march toward the United Center, the site of the DNC. ABC's Jim Ryan says the protest organizers, they've been working with police to do their best to keep things peaceful.
It's notable that the officers who've been assigned to these protests are in regular uniform shirts.
There's no reason to have someone out in riot gear if no one's rioting.
Chicago Police Superintendent Larry Snelling says riot shields, helmets, and batons can affect the mood of a crowd.
If people are out there having their voices heard, there is absolutely no reason to be confrontational.
As protesters were gathering in Union Park before the march, one man had a baseball bat confiscated by police.
Of course, it's just been weeks since President Biden ended his campaign and endorsed Vice President Kamala Harris for the job. ABC News White House correspondent Karen Travers, she's in Chicago. She's got the latest on Joe Biden's speech that he's delivering tonight as the keynote address.
The White House says tonight is a big night for President Biden, and he's excited to speak at the DNC. Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre telling reporters on Air Force One en route to Chicago that the president will talk about his vision for the country and what he's done over his time in office. This wasn't the speech the president hoped to deliver here in Chicago, but Jean-Pierre said Americans will see a president who has, quote, put his personal agenda aside in favor of putting the country first.
We now head to the Middle East, where Secretary of State Anthony Biden is in Israel. It's his 9th visit there since the October 7th attacks. After meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Blinken said that Israel has accepted a proposal to bridge differences holding up a ceasefire and hostage release.
What's most crucial now is that everyone refrain from taking any action that could fuel further conflict, escalate tensions.
Blinken is expected to travel to Egypt tomorrow. Back here in the mid-state, a Clarksville man has been indicted on robbery and weapons charges, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. News 2 also reporting that Kenneth Moore, 45, is charged with robbing 3 women in Clarksville, brandishing a weapon during robberies, and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Allegedly, on 3 separate occasions between October of last year and February of this year, Moore arranged dates with women at motels in Clarksville, and it was all just to rob, rape, and beat and pistol whip them. If convicted, and he is determined to be an armed career criminal, he faces imprisonment between 15 years to life. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. 7 minutes past the hour of 4 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Hour number 2 of the drive already underway on this very mild sort of August day, August 19th. We are zipping right through the month. Of course, this is the week where the Democrats gather in Chicago to have their big dog and pony show, and I'll watch it so you don't have to. Yeah, I mean, that'll be the easiest way. You just don't have to watch it. Just, check in tomorrow, and I'll tell you everything you need to know, all the stuff that you missed. Dan Mandis will have it as well tomorrow morning. Everybody will be on top of it. So, we're saving you that pain and suffering. One of the things, I mean, you're not going to watch it, but a lot of Democrats will, and a lot of Democrats are, I should say, gathered in Chicago, that title in town, and boy, that's even beyond my era.
Way back there.
That's going way back. But, they're not going to see a lot of the things that are wrong with Chicago, a city that has been dominated by Democrat politics for the longest time. And let's just take a moment to take a look at some of the things that are wrong with Chicago. For example, it's the murder capital of the United States. In 2023, there were 617 people shot and killed in Chicago. The number of residents who have left the city since in 2023, 8,208. That's the 9th consecutive year of decline. People are fleeing Chicago. They can't get out of Chicago fast enough. The city has a budget of $16.6 billion. And it is, not well spent. For example, you have teachers. I have this number here. What teachers make? It's like 93. Yeah, average salary for teacher in the city is $93,182 a year. That's, as teacher pay goes, pretty high. And before, but it's not return. As Kamala likes to say, there is no return on that investment, as Kamala would like to say. 25% of Chicago school kids are reading at grade level. 25%, which means 75% are not. 75% of the kids in Chicago schools are not reading at grade level, even though you have some of the highest paid teachers in America. And the teachers' union there, very powerful, asking for another $10 to $13 billion because they don't feel like they're being paid enough. Increase in crimes, major crimes in Chicago in 2023, that was up 16%. Here's one. Black Chicago students proficient in math, 8%. Why? That's unbelievable, 8%. And yet you're just throwing money. See, this is what I always say. When it comes to education, it's not about the money that you throw at the problem. I mean, they're spending, I forget how much it is on every student. Oh yeah, $29,169 being spent on every student in the Chicago public school system. That's roughly, let's call it $30,000 per student. That's a lot of money per student when you look at what other school districts who have much better, outcomes are spending. So it's not about the money that you spend. It's how you spend it and the curriculum and the quality of the teachers. Teachers in Chicago, because it's a very powerful union town, cannot be fired. They just can't be fired. There's hardly any way you can get rid of a bad teacher. And that's not to say there aren't some good teachers there, but I mean, something's not working if 8% of Black Chicago students are proficient in math and 18% of total students are proficient in math. And as we told you, only 25% are reading at level, 75% are not. It's a disaster. What is it? Democrat policies is what you have to point to. Absolutely. $361 million is how much the city of Chicago spent on migrant crisis last year. The quality of life, number of residents leaving, I told you that number. Unemployment rate 6.2, the worst of the nation's big cities. Top 50 largest metro areas, by far, Chicago has the highest unemployment. And I'm telling you, you just go after it and you look at it, and there's nothing about the statistics of Chicago that are good and warm and fuzzy statistics. Miranda Devine from the New York Post. If the message of this week's Democrat National Convention is we're going to make America more like Chicago, you need to run for the hills. Nearly 100 years of Democratic rule, the Windy City is a basket case. Soaring crime, high taxes, crippling debt, crumbling infrastructure, and a declining population are just some of the miseries inflicted on its citizens. It is the murder capital of America, with someone shot every 2 hours and someone killed every 17 hours. So far this year, 353 victims, most of them black, have been murdered in Chicago. The homicide rate is 5 times higher than New York's. Democrats want to hold the convention somewhere safer, but Beirut was not available, one quipped. Of course, none of this unpleasant will be visit to the 35,000 convention goers and the 15,000 media members descending on Chi-Town this week. The DNC has built a big wall around the convention area that it refuses to build at the southern border because they say walls don't work, but they do in Chicago. Mayor Brandon Johnson has temporarily suspended his anti-racist crime policy and ordered his city's beleaguered cops to enforce the law for once so that everyone will go home saying that Chicago's crime wave is a MAGA conspiracy theory. There are extraordinary efforts to make sure the Democrat convention is safe and protected, whereas people outside the bubble are being murdered on a weekly, daily, and hourly basis, says Gianno Caldwell, a Fox News political analyst whose 18-year-old brother, Christian Beeman, was murdered in Chicago in a still unsolved 2022 shooting. Chicago has become the wild, wild west, says Caldwell, who has dedicated himself to helping victims of violent crime in his hometown through his foundation, the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety. Having grown up on the south side of Chicago, I understand how progressive policies are systematically killing innocent lives. The city is hurting and hurting even worse under Brandon Johnson and Governor J.B. Pritzker. Yes, Democrat rule. It works so well in Chicago. Let's bring it to the entire country. What a mess. Chicago businesses board up storefronts, fear protests similar to those following the George Floyd murder. If that happens, will they report it? Other political news. Let's see, I have some sound here. Let's go to the polls. I'm going to talk a little bit about the numbers. General election numbers, Morning Consult, and this is the general election number, which again is popular vote. Doesn't mean as much, but nonetheless, here it is. Morning Consult has Harris up by 4. ABC Washington Post has Harris up by 4. CBS News has Harris up by 3. That's all within the margin of error, but clearly the numbers have tightened. No doubt about it. Battleground states, a big poll came out this weekend from the New York Times. A lot of people look at the New York Times poll. You take it or leave it. I'll just give you the numbers. I report, you decide. Arizona, Harris up by 5. In Georgia, Trump up by 4. In Nevada, Harris up by 2. So, it looks like to me Pennsylvania is going to be the place to look. Rasmussen, which has always been very favorable to Trump. Arizona, Trump plus 2. Michigan, Harris plus 1. Pennsylvania, Trump up by 1. I think it's going to be Pennsylvania, quite frankly. Matt Towery was on Fox. He's a pollster. And he says he believes maybe things have plateaued just a bit. Maybe we've hit the high water mark. And he says, by the way, take all of these polls that you're reading about Harris and her surge with a grain of salt. And he explains why.
Well, it tells me that she's reached a certain level and she's not gaining any ground right now. We've seen in the polling that we look at that basically, as you said, all of these states are pretty tight, with Trump having a lead in most of them. Now, let me give you an example of how sometimes this train gets gets going and it's not really true. There was one set of polls that were introduced 2 days ago that came out and showed Harris leading almost every swing state. The only problem is it was produced on August the 14th. It ended the actual poll on August the 2nd when the honeymoon started. So you got to be careful about these averages. They make it look like there's more momentum for Harris than there actually is.
So more modern polls seem to suggest, according to Matt Towery speaking on Fox News, that perhaps she has plateaued. Now, is it tight? Yes, it's tight as a tick. It really is. It couldn't be any tighter. Things have tightened. There just seems to be little doubt about that. Again, I don't look at one poll. It's a snapshot. It's a picture in time. I don't make any judgments on that. But what I do is what I do try to look at is is a bunch of polls to see whether there is a trend. Now, the trend is, since Biden got out and it seems that Kamala Harris is, now the nominee, the numbers have tightened significantly. That is undeniable. Has she hit the high water mark? Yeah, it seems like maybe she has. Maybe she get a little bump out of the convention. That would not be unexpected. But at the end of the day, if the Trump campaign is disciplined about its message, and if they're out there doing the right things in the right places and spending the money in the right places for advertising, I think they can drive those numbers back down. And sooner or later, Kamala Harris has to submit to an interview where she has to answer tough questions. I mean, she's getting these great numbers because nobody is holding her accountable for the things she has said in the past and all of the flip-flopping that's gone on. So, look, there's a lot of work to be done by the Trump campaign. Are they making the right moves? We'll look into that, I promise you, a little bit later in this hour. But in the meantime, know this. Harris campaign reserves $370 million for an ad blitz that will run through Election Day. $370 million. And there's this, Axelrod. Here's David Axelrod, a Democrat, warning that the party should not be, talking about the Democrat Party, should not be too euphoric over Vice President's slight national lead over former President Trump in the general election numbers, suggesting the Republicans may well win if the election were held today. I agree. Axelrod was a prominent voice this summer calling for President Biden to drop out of the race, and he said the Democrat Party is in a better position for November with Harris as its presumed nominee. But at the same time, he says, do not get too euphoric, because if this election were held today, Trump might squeak it out. The way I look at it, I think that's true. But I got to tell you, the polls could not be any tighter. I'm not gonna, blow smoke here. It's TC. Too close to call. 20 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
Metro Police are investigating what they are calling a targeted shooting in Donaldson. We'll have that story in today's Closing Money News. That's all at 4:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's old Jay Harper back there in the newsroom. How you doing? I got a nice salute there from Jay. Good to see you, Jay. And then in the newsroom, it's Chris Weber pushing all the blinky buttons as we kick off a week where the Democrats are gathering in Chicago. Again, look, we'll watch. All of the guys here have promised to watch so you don't have to. I mean, honestly, I know it'll make you throw up a little in your mouth if you have to watch them. Just a little.
You get hazard pay for that?
Yeah, I need it. But I'll be here, every day starting at 3 all the way till 7 o'clock. And I'll be watching on behalf of so that you don't have to. And I'll bring you all the stuff that you need to know. But it's really going to be, I don't know, honestly. Tonight, Joe Biden, basically the end of his career. I mean, sure, he's president of the United States, but this is his farewell address to Democrats. And it'll be a glowing, they'll just be apoplectic to see old Joe there, making him feel a little better for getting, basically the presidency ripped out of his hands. But that's okay. That's all right. That's the way it works. So I'll do that, and you don't need to worry. And of course, we're waiting for the day when Kamala Harris is actually put in a position where she has to explain her past positions. And there's a lot of them. And because that, here in our continuing 2024 coverage, it's time once again to launch the Wayback Machine so we can find the things she said before.
We're going back in time. I remember it as if it were yesterday.
Wow. That machine. That really creates a little smoke in here.
I need to wear a mask next time.
I know, but we got the hard hats and the goggles, but I'm thinking maybe we do need to have some kind of
breathing
device. Yeah, I think absolutely. It's a powerful machine. Well, what has the Wayback Machine found for us today? Kamala Harris's tyrannical 2019 video resurfaces, saying that she will snatch the patents of the pharmaceutical companies so that we will take over. She will take things from the pharmaceutical company. Now, look, I'm not a big fan of big pharma. Don't get me wrong. But the things that she has suggested indicates that she believes she has powers, to just basically take away from people their intellectual property. From Bob Hogue at redstate.com. Patent law is notoriously complex, and there are certainly some drug companies that take advantage of them. He says, I have no love for the Pfizers of the world who rake in billions with their flawed COVID vaccines. But her view of the government's role is chilling, and she seems drunk on power that she didn't even have at the time. We have seen the Biden administration's weaponizing the powers of the executive branch throughout this term. But Kamala, between her past statements and her newly announced Bolshevik economic policies, they really are. Bolshevik.
Gotta be careful when you say that.
Yeah. You come out wrong, can it? Bolshevik. Well, anyway, Comrade Kamala, she, in her past statements and her newly announced Bolshevik, boy, I nearly did it. Bolshevik economic policies sound like she literally wants to change our hugely successful capitalist economy into something entirely. Of course, her ideas have been tried in places like Venezuela, the former USSR, Argentina, and elsewhere. And although they sound oh so nice, they never end well. So what was it that she said? I'll give you the exact quote. My plan as candidate for president on these drug prices is as follows. We're going to set drug prices based on the fair market. So essentially what we're going to do, and you can visit the website if you will, and if not, get some documents, but essentially what we're going to do is set drug prices so the American consumers are charged a price for drugs that's the average price being charged around the globe. Okay, I'm all right with that so far. I mean, I think that they are too high, and it always bothers me that we pay more than like Canada does or other countries. Not a real problem there. And she goes on, though, and it gets really bad. There's a huge difference, and she goes on to talk about insulin. So for any drug where they fail to play by our rules, and if that drug came from federal funding for what's called R&D, research and development, she will snatch the patent.
I will snatch their patent so that we will take over. And yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. It's the question is, do you have the will to do it? I have the will to do it.
Where will she stop is the question. It's 30 minutes now past the hour of 4 o'clock.
Good afternoon. It's 4:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. It's partly sunny, 83 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are on the way. Fox 17 News reports one person is dead after a shooting in Donaldson overnight along Maple Crest Drive. Metro Police say the man who was murdered appeared to have been set up and lured to the home. Police say the investigation shows that the victim, who has not been publicly identified just yet, arrived at the location just before 1 o'clock this morning with a woman who led him toward the rear of the property, where police say a gunman was waiting nearby. That gunman ran up to the victim and shot him multiple times, the victim dying at the scene. The gunman and the woman fled the scene together. Anyone with info is asked to call Crime Stoppers. We now turn to today's closing money news with Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street, now the roller coaster of a ride for stocks appears to be leveling off a bit. The Dow rose 237 points, the S&P added 54, and the Nasdaq closed up 245 points. The market's closing higher, coming off their best week of the year. Investors may be tentative ahead of a speech Friday from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, where he could give hints on how much the central bank is expected to cut rates at its meeting in September. General Motors is laying off more than 1,000 salaried software and services employees following a review to streamline the unit's operation. Retailers will dominate as earnings season comes to a close. Expect numbers from Lowe's, Ross Stores, Target, and TJX this week. Purdue Foods is recalling more than 167,000 pounds of frozen chicken nuggets and tenders. Some customers say they found metal wire embedded in the products.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
I'm leaning towards Trump.
And why is that?
A lot of the stuff Kamala says is kind of like what Trump has said, like no taxes on tips was something that was kind of reiterated by Trump beforehand. She's just kind of been caught up in a lot of lies.
That's a black Wisconsin voter talking to ABC News about the campaign, and she's paying attention. She's paying attention. And a lot of other people are paying attention to the things that Kamala has said, like her Soviet-era price controls. Here's a grocery store owner.
You can't just throw things against the wall and expect everybody to say, oh, that's great. As a grocery store owner, we work on such low margins. It's going to affect us totally. I mean, it won't work for us at all.
So it is starting to sort of seep into the collective minds of Americans that she's making a lot of promises. She's throwing out some ideas that are questionable. She's not being asked many hard questions about it because she doesn't ever put herself in a position where she can be asked hard questions. So, the numbers have tightened, as I just explained to you a few moments ago. Is there a way for her to win? Is there a path? Is there a way for her to win? Is there a way to lose? I mean, is there a pathway to victory for Donald Trump and J.D. Vance? Yes, I believe there is. And I think that the solution here is to be effective in communicating your ideas so that the American people, when they're exposed to anything you have to say, are picking up on it. I think J.D. Vance is doing an absolutely amazing job at this. Here he is on the Sunday talk shows, and he's following a soundbite by Kamala Harris.
He plans to give billionaires massive tax cuts year after year. And he plans to cut corporate taxes by over $1 trillion, even as they pull in record profits. And that's on top of the $2 trillion tax cut he already signed into law when he was president.
I don't buy that argument because Donald Trump was already president. He already secured the wall. He already implemented tariffs, which brought back 12,000 American factories were built during Donald Trump's administration, and prices were low and take-home pay was high. The entire argument of the Kamala Harris campaign boils down to forget how good things were when Donald Trump was president. Forget that we had rising take-home pay. Forget that we had low inflation. Forget that we had peace all over the world. And somehow, if you give Kamala Harris more power than she already has, she's somehow going to do something different than she's done for the past 3.5 years. The most absurd thing that Kamala says at her rallies is, on day one, I'm going to tackle the food and housing affordability crisis in this country. Day one for Kamala Harris was 3.5 years ago, and everything that she's done has made the affordability problem worse. We cannot give her more power and more influence. She's just going to do more of the same, which has already made the affordability crisis for Americans very, very real.
That is, my friends, messaging perfection. It doesn't get any better than that. He is dialed in. He is on message. He's giving it back to them with everything he got. Here's an exchange with J.D. Vance in Philly. A reporter asked a question about, can you convince people in this Democrat city to vote for Trump Vance?
Senator Vance, you've been in Philadelphia twice in about 2 weeks. This is a city, though, that is run by the Democratic Party, has been for quite a while. Why do you feel this city is so important for the campaign, and can you win it come November?
By the way, a pretty good question to ask of somebody coming in. Fair question.
I think we absolutely can win it. We're going to win the whole state of Pennsylvania and Philadelphia. Look. I'd ask voters in Philadelphia and across the whole state a very simple question. Has your life been better off under Democrat leadership? Have your communities gotten safer under Democrat leadership? Have your wages kept up with affordability under Democrat leadership? And because the answer is no, I think that Americans, Pennsylvanians, and the citizens of this city are ready for a change. They're ready for the presidency of Donald J. Trump.
Perfect. Perfection. Absolutely on message.
Did you just give it the chef's kiss?
I did that. Mwah. That's great. That's fantastic. But Donald Trump, not quite as disciplined, and a lot of people who want to see the Republicans win here. I don't understand that when we offer this critique, it's with love because we want him to win. We want to absolutely annihilate the Democrats at the voting booth, and it really requires messaging discipline. Here's Karl Rove speaking this weekend.
First of all, he does listen to a lot of people, but the person he listens to is the inner voice. And we see it in these rallies, which are a particularly undisciplined form of communications. Look, think about it. 2/3 of the American people think we're going in the wrong direction. He leads on the issue of who's better on the economy, who's better on inflation. That's all good numbers for him. And yet this race today, he's behind. And why is he behind? Because he is making this race about things other than the three big issues in this campaign: the economy, inflation, and immigration. And, he can go out and touch on those things, but he will say something incendiary or something will pop up. He obscures his message because he's fundamentally undisciplined. Having said that, this race is tight as a tick and will remain so. There has been great movement towards the Harris campaign between July 21st and today. But think about this. If you take the Real Clear Politics average of the battleground states, Trump leads in Nevada, North Carolina, and Georgia in the Real Clear Politics average. Harris leads in Arizona, Michigan, and Wisconsin. That leaves the race at 257 electoral votes for Trump, 262 for Harris, and the decision to be made in the state that is tied, Pennsylvania, with 19 electoral votes. This is going to be a race right to the end, and the more disciplined campaign is going to be the campaign that wins.
Well, discipline is a thing that you really got to have in your messaging. Now look at compare and contrast. The Democrats are on message. Now you may not like the message, but they're on message and they are delivering their points. They're playing a pretty interesting game. They're out there. They're talking about the things that they're going to do. They come in, they hit their marks, they read their speeches, they get off, they go do another event. And there's the messaging is left intact. And the problem with Donald Trump for sometimes is that, in a 2-hour speech, when he's riffing, when he's not reading the speech, when he's not on point, he will say something that will grab a headline, and it takes away the impact of everything else that he said. That's what they're talking about when they say you got to be disciplined. Now, that said, Trump gave a speech today, an economic speech today, and he was pretty much on message. Here's a little bit of that.
We'll massively cut taxes, unlock American energy, slash regulations, big factor, crack down on trade cheaters and stop outsourcing, rebuild our industrial base and bring back those beautiful words, made in the USA. And we were doing that 4 years ago and starting to do really well. Together we will reclaim our nation's destiny as the #1 manufacturing superpower in the world. We will do it. And China won't even be close. Nobody will be. After every policy in Kamala Harris's radical liberal playbook sends jobs and wealth to other countries. The jobs go to other countries and the wealth goes to other countries. Every policy in the Trump agenda is designed to bring the jobs and wealth back home to America, where it belongs and where it's going to stay. Kamala puts America last. I put America first. Some facts that are interesting. The year before I took office, the United States lost over 10,000 manufacturing jobs. Everybody said you'd never bring it back. But under my leadership, we created more than 500,000 manufacturing jobs in less than 3 years. After decades of wage stagnation and income surged, we had a surge like nobody's ever seen before. But it surged for everybody during the Trump administration. Every group, everybody, men, women, every household was at a level that they've never really experienced before. Everyone was better off when you had a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump at the helm. Does anybody know him?
That's a lot better. Again, if you can just stay on message and just get the message out there and not step on your message, you'll have a much better chance of winning. Look, this is going to be the week that the Democrats sort of control the message, just like the Republicans did during the Republican convention. And we came out of it. Things look pretty good. The Democrats will get a little bump coming out of this, but I don't think it's a long-lasting bump. It seems that the Trump campaign now is starting to get dialed in. I think it has something to do with the arrival of Corey Lewandowski. And what is it that he brings to the table? I think that Corey Lewandowski is one of the few people who can talk to Donald Trump and tell him the things that he needs to hear, and get it to absorb in, and that he absorbs. A lot of people have been offering this advice. Brett Hume, Karl Rove, a lot of great people who know about Frank Luntz, great people on our side of the equation who are really knowledgeable about messaging and about politics, and it doesn't seem to absorb. But I think Corey Lewandowski is that one person who can bring the message to Trump, and it absorbs. So if today is an example of what we're going to see, I have some real hope that this thing will turn around. Look, if the election were held today, and you twisted my arm and I had to tell you how it's going to turn out, I would say it's really, really close, but I think Trump could squeak it out. When they get their post-convention bump, it'll be pretty much dead even, maybe even advantage Harris. I'm not worried so much about the general election numbers being up because you know what? You can win the popular vote. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote by 2 points, right? So that doesn't mean anything. You can win the popular vote and still lose the battle because it's all about the Electoral College, and he's still in the game. And as Karl Rove pointed out, I think very adroitly, it's going to be Pennsylvania. It's going to be Pennsylvania. It is the swingiest of all this. Sometimes it's Florida. Sometimes it's Michigan. This time it's Pennsylvania, the swingiest of all the swing states, and how that goes is going to determine a lot. And I've seen polls where, it's dead even in Pennsylvania. The fight is in Pennsylvania. So they're out there. They seem to be honing their message after, going after Biden and going after Biden and going after Biden so effectively. Now they had to change their ways and had to sort of retool the campaign. And it seems it's taken them a while to do that. But it seems to me what I'm hearing from J.D. Vance, which I love, what I hear today from Trump, which is something that is really sort of different if you watch very closely and you pay attention to these things. I think this is a way to do it. You need to do 4 events a day in the battleground states. And, there was some talk about they weren't going to do a whole lot until after the Democrats' convention. But that has changed. And that's a good move as well. Indicates that they're going to get out there and they're going to start fighting, and the message is being honed and sharpened in a very, very effective way. I have hope here that we're going to be okay. 50 minutes now past the hour. Grace Point Healthcare is known for their affordable, comprehensive, and convenient medical care delivered the old-fashioned way. That's what you want, right? You want somebody who's going to be there for you that you can afford. You want somebody who's going to do a comprehensive job, and you need it to be convenient. I mean, after all, what good is having a doctor if you can't get to the doctor when you need the doctor? And that's the thing about Grace Point Healthcare. They will see you the same or the next day. You won't have to wait days or weeks to see a doctor. That's modern medicine at your convenience. Now, you may have a lot of things going on in your life. Maybe the kids need a sports physical as they're starting to play sports as they return to school. Grace Point provides complete physicals for kids of all ages. And if you're making a trip, an international trip, whatever it's for, Grace Point offers complete travel immunizations and is CDC certified for yellow fever and other international immunization protocols. Located on Main Street in Franklin, here's the number, 615-599-6868.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Donald Trump campaigning in battleground states this week. He's in Pennsylvania today. Demonstrators, they're gathering in Chicago near the site of the DNC that begins today. And the family of a murdered soap opera star demanding justice. We'll have those stories at 5 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It's 57 minutes now past the hour. Coming up in the next hour, listen, a big decision, or sort of a lack of action by the Supreme Court, is good news for the state of Tennessee with regard to the whole concept of women having to play against men on the field of endeavor, on the field of sports. And so we will get into all of that coming up in the next hour. Right now, 58 past the hour.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Good afternoon. It's 5 p.m. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're seeing quite a bit of sunshine at the moment. 84 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. Former President Donald Trump will be conducting campaign events in swing states this week, while Democrats celebrate the nomination of Kamala Harris in Chicago. ABC's Stephen Portnoy has more.
The former president aims to counter-program the Democratic convention all week.
Kamala puts America last. I put America first.
Today, Donald Trump appeared at a manufacturing facility in York, Pennsylvania.
She will obliterate factories like this.
Arguing that the Harris-Walz ticket would wreck the economy, Trump planned similar stops in Michigan, North Carolina, and Arizona as Democrats gather in Chicago.
Well, speaking of Democrats gathering in Chicago, many of the same people who joined in a large-scale demonstration downtown yesterday in Chicago, they were back on the protest line again today. ABC's Jim Ryan tells us about some of the tense moments at an event in Union Park.
Hundreds were drawn to the rally, mostly pro-Palestinian, but a few supporters of Israel. Police did stop a man who walked into the park with a baseball bat sticking up out of his backpack.
We use it for self-defense. We're not violent. We're peaceful. We'll only use it for self-defense.
His name is Anthony. He says his main concern was about the police.
When they attack, we have to fight back.
Officers took the baseball bat, saying he could have it back when he left.
Now, as we move out west, loved ones of General Hospital actor Johnny Wachter, They're urging the L.A. County District Attorney George Gascon to seek a life sentence for his alleged killers. ABC's Blake Trolley reports that charges are to be announced later on this evening.
The family is requesting DA Gascon to file all criminal charges, including gang enhancements and murder and commission of a robbery. Victim advocate for the family and retired LAPD detective Moses Castillo says the family also wants all potential prior strikes filed.
It is our understanding that all of these suspects in this case have prior convictions.
Wachter was fatally shot in downtown LA by catalytic converter thieves in May. 4 people were arrested for the shooting last week.
We now turn to Clarksville, where a man has been indicted on robbery and weapons charges, according to the U.S. Attorney's Office. News 2 reporting that the suspect, Kenneth Moore, 45, is charged with robbing 3 women in Clarksville while brandishing a weapon during the robberies and being a felon in possession of a firearm. Allegedly, on 3 separate occasions between October of last year and February of this year, Moore arranged dates with women at various motels in Clarksville, but then robbed, raped, beat, and pistol whipped them. If convicted and it's determined that he is an armed career criminal, he faces imprisonment between 15 years to life. That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number 1, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number 2, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is 7 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock. Hour number 3 of the drive now underway on this Monday, August 19th. Hang on. I want to pull a little something here so we can all get ready for this. We've got a supermoon tonight. That's right. The full moon will be a supermoon. I think they call this the sturgeon moon. I'm not sure. But listen, this is going to be good. It's going to be... as it comes up on the horizon, it's going to look spectacularly large. That's what makes it a supermoon. It's actually closer to the Earth than it normally is. And we're going to have, this is August, September, October, November. The next 4 months, we're going to have a supermoon every month.
Wow.
This is the first of 4 supermoons.
I bet that doesn't happen much.
It's not actually bigger, but it can appear that way, because scientists say the differences can be barely perceptible. But and when you see it, especially close to the horizon,
when it's nice and low,
when it's nice and low, the atmosphere acts as sort of a magnifying glass, and you will see the moon appear to be larger than it normally looks. And it's sort of a, it's sort of like being magnified. So it didn't really get any bigger, but it is closer than it normally is. And it does get that advantage of having, the lens effect of the atmosphere when you're looking through at the horizon level. But it'll still be a spectacular moon. I mean, last night I was sitting with a Cabana wife watching TV. I just happened to glance out the window. I said, holy moly, we got to go out and look at the full moon. It wasn't quite full last night, but it will be tonight. It was so close, so close. So it will be 224,917 miles away from the Earth.
That's all? Wow.
But the next one will be about 3,000 miles closer on September 17th. And a partial eclipse will also unfold that night, visible in much of the Americas, Africa, Europe, as the Earth's shadow falls on the moon, looking as if somebody has taken a bite of cheese out of the moon.
That'll be cool to see.
Yeah. And then October supermoon will be the closest yet, 222,055 miles. Yeah, 220,000. What's 55 miles among friends? But anyway, pretty interesting stuff. And if the viewing is good, should be a spectacular moon tonight.
Should be a good night for it, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
It'll be clear.
I'm hoping so. I hope so. We got a lot of news to cover. Of course, we'll talk about politics, but there are other things going on that we need to stay up on. And we'll get into more politics here in the second half of this hour, no doubt. But let's talk a little bit about something that has happened that has a real impact on us. I am especially outraged at the Biden administration and their efforts to change Title IX. Because what they really want to do, and, they are so beholden to the LGBTQ plus community that they want to go along with anything that group, puts forward. They need those votes. And so they're going to go and they're going to carry the water for the LGBTQ plus community. I can't even keep up with all of the letters in the alphabet now. But one way or the other, they want to change Title IX so that, people who were born as men but decide that they are really women and want to play on the women's field of sports, in the field of competition, they're going to be in supportive of that. And they tried to make that change through Title IX, which really, it really subverts everything Title IX was supposed to be. Title IX was supposed to be, we're going to have, if you have something for men, you're going to have the same thing for women. And it has been a boon to women's sports. And as a dad of a girl who played soccer in high school, I really can't imagine how outraged I would be if my daughter, who was, she was a little smallish, but she was a very aggressive defensive player. And she was the last line of defense between, between the opponent and the goal. Well, the goalie was the final, but she was next to that. She felt it was a failure if it got past her because it should never get to the goalie. She was so competitive and so good at what she did. And I loved going and watch her play. And I would have been outraged if my daughter was out there competing against some guy who woke up one day and decided that he wanted to be a woman. Okay? Hey, listen, if you want to have that conversion, I don't have any problem with it. I don't understand it. I don't have to understand it. You be you. I guess there's that libertarian streak within me that says, I don't care what you do as long as it doesn't impact me or mine. But this could potentially impact me or mine. And a lot of people who just want to see their daughters go out and have, a good athletic experience, maybe exceed, maybe someday, get a scholarship to go to a Division I school. I mean, all of those things, it can really be a game changer for so many people who are willing to put in the time and put into work and then have it all destroyed by some man who has decided that he wants to play against women. Again, it's not about you deciding that you want to change your sex. I don't understand that, but knock yourself out if you're an adult. I don't care. I honestly don't care. It doesn't mean that I hate you. It's not means that I dislike you. I just don't think you ought to be on the field of athletic play with girls. You're biologically stronger. And I'm so against that. So listen, this is a good thing here I'm about to read you. A divided Supreme Court last Friday left in place lower court orders blocking changes to sex discrimination rules for schools in about half of the states, while new protections for transgender students under Title IX are being challenged. The Biden administration, in a merger request, had argued to the High Court that the orders were too sweeping and some of the updates should be allowed to take effect as scheduled on August 1. But the GOP states, including Tennessee, and conservative groups challenging the new rules and the components cannot be easily separated. Schools would have to work out how the rule functions without its key provisions, amend their policies, train their staff accordingly, all by next week, and then do it again after judicial review. Lawyers for Alliance Defending Freedom, which represents Louisiana School Board, told the court last month. 5 of the court's conservative justices sided with the states, and Justice Neil Gorsuch joined the court's 3 liberals in dissenting. I don't know why. The majority said the administration had not shown that the provisions being challenged could easily be separated from the rest of the requirements. Writing for the minority, Justice Sonia Sotomayor said it's the states that failed to explain why blocking enforcement of the entire update is necessary. Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti hailed the court's decision to stay the rule as the case proceeds. Quote, I'm grateful the Supreme Court of the United States agreed that no part of the Biden administration's Title IX rule should go into effect while the case proceeds. Now, it's not over, but this is a good win for us on the short term. This is a win for student privacy, free speech, and the rule of law. Now, the Biden administration in April finalized sweeping changes to the rules, including stating that Title IX protects LGBTQ plus students. The updates also include protections for pregnant students and reverses Trump-era guidelines for adjudicating sexual harassment and assault cases on campus, which has given more rights to the alleged perpetrators of sexual assault and harassment. While we do not agree with this ruling, the department stands by the final Title IX regulations, Education Department spokesman Vanessa Harmouche said Friday, and we will continue to defend those rules in the expedited litigation in the lower courts. So it's back to the lower courts. And in the meantime, what this means is in the state of Tennessee, this will not be in play for the moment. From the Tennessee Star, Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Skrmetti, he's doing a great job. I like this guy. Applauded the U.S. Supreme Court's 5-4 ruling. The DOE's, the Department of Education's final rule, blocked from being implemented by the nation's highest court, would have rewritten Title IX to encompass gender identity and sexual orientation. Title IX currently states, no person in the United States shall, on the basis of sex, be excluded from participation in, be denied the benefits of, or be subjected to discrimination under any education program or activity receiving federal financial assistance. The department's rule, they're interpreting the rule. That's what they do. This is the insidious thing. The administration comes in and says, well, we understand how this rule has been interpreted, but we want to rewrite the rule because we think the rule is wrong and not broad enough. And they came in and wanted to rewrite Title IX and the way that it is being enforced to abolish sex-based distinctions in educational activities and programs to accommodate transgendered individuals. This is, if you want to find out that one issue that will bring the soccer moms back to the Republican side of the equation, it's this one. Get Kamala Harris on the record and ask her the question, should transgendered men be able to play against women on the field of athletic play? Ask her the answer to that question. And I guarantee you, if she answers like I think she will, the soccer moms will revolt because it'll be a revolting answer. And they will revolt and they will swing back. See, I got to tell you, when you look at these numbers, the one thing that has changed is that Kamala's numbers have tightened. And you know what? I saw one analysis, and I think it's right, that it's the women who have shifted back to the Democrat side of the equation. Women. And the way you can absolutely get a lot of those soccer moms and those moms back is to get them to answer that question. Because I know what she's going to say. Oh, she'll try to dance around the issue. But I got to tell you, at the end of the day, we know what the Biden administration's policy, and guess what? She was part of the Biden administration. We know what she will do if she is president of the United States. She'll absolutely go forward with this fight over Title IX. She absolutely will. And if we get Trump, on the other hand, this goes away. It's not going to be imposed because he'll interpret the rule a different way. But in the meantime, I'm telling you, if you want to get the one thing that'll bring women back, it's get her on the record about this. Will somebody please ask her that question? If we can only get her in front of a microphone. How do you feel about transgendered men playing against women on the field of athletics? That's the question. That could be the game changer for this whole election. In the meantime, Jonathan Skrmetti and the other Republican attorneys general who have, challenged this ruling, good on you. Keep going. Great work. Glad that we have a temporary reprieve. Let's hope that sanity prevails before the Supreme Court and the other courts have to finalize a decision on this. 20 minutes now past the hour. Stoltzko, if you're in the market for a pole barn, the two brothers that run Stoltzko are guys that you need to talk to. They're known for their exceptional quality, craftsmanship, and fair prices, and they can build you a no pole barn. And here's something to think about. Do you own land? Are you doing anything with that land? Why don't you make an investment into your land by building on it? Let Stoltzko build a high-quality custom structure at a reasonable price. You see, Stoltzko is the leading company with first-class customer service in the creation of post-frame buildings such as barn dominiums. That's like a house that looks like a barn. You actually live in it. And, they're very popular, and they're very cool, by the way. Any kind of pole barn that can be used for a whole bunch of different things. You can use it as a real barn. You can use it as a place to park your vehicles. You can use it as a place to, put your horses, for example, an equestrian space. Or maybe you could use it to build a sort of an event out there on your property, event space out there. What a great thing that would be. A place to hang out on weekends, a future home, a home to retire in. All of these things are possible. So listen, Stoltzko is the company you need to know. And just do me a favor, go to their website, take a look at some of the things they've done for other people, and you're going to say, give me some of that. And then you're going to call them at 615-622-5992. Stoltzko.com. I'm going to spell that for you. Stoltzco. Stoltzco.com for more information.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
It is Joe Biden's swan song at the Democratic National Convention tonight. Meanwhile, House Republicans, they've delivered a scathing report on Mr. Biden, and a daytime TV talk show pioneer passes away. We'll have those stories at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Wrong bird, Jay. He's not a swan. He's a duck.
I knew I was setting that up for you perfectly.
He's an angry duck. Thank you, Jay. I'm sorry. I don't mean to drag you into that kind of stuff, but thank you for playing along. This story I'm going to read, and it's a cautionary tale, and I'm going to tell you what to do if you run into this situation, and you may. You very well may. A Trump supporter claims she was prevented from entering the New York Mets Stadium while wearing a Make America Great Again hat. She had a MAGA hat on, right? And she's labeling it as political discrimination. Aura Moody explained to the New York Post that she and her friend Tasha had been wearing MAGA hats and had gotten past the security checkpoint when they were informed by a Met Stadium employee, the Met Stadium known as Citi Field, that their hats were too political and they could not enter. They were instructed that they can't just place them in their bags. They had to take them back to the car. You cannot wear it. You cannot wear it inside Citi Field. Listen, I know what I would have said had they told me that. But, she went on to say, the United States of America is no longer the vehicle of freedom and tolerance. I am living under a communist regime where our freedoms are trampled upon. That was the first thought that came to my mind. Now, Moody and her friend Tasha, they serve on the board of the Queens Village Republican Club. A bunch of them had come from the club meeting. We're going to the Mets game. A whole bunch of them, they came in separate cars, right? We are conservative people. We believe in tolerance. Moody told the outlet, if I was wearing a BLM, a Biden-Harris hat, they would have let me go right through. So they go back to the car. They go all the way back to the parking lot and put the MAGA hats back in the car because, well, they just wanted to see the game and, they fight it another time. But when they caught up with the rest of their group, guess what? At least 8 people in their group were wearing MAGA hats. In other words, they got through while they didn't. One of Moody's friends jumped to her defense on Facebook. They said, I don't care if you despise Donald Trump. That is not what this is about. Is this the America you want to live in? Aura, she's one of New York City's teachers, terminated for refusing to get the COVID vaccine, and she gets basically thrown out if she wants to go into the baseball game wearing a MAGA hat. Moody says it was political discrimination. She went on to attempt to file several complaints with employees at the stadium, according to the outlet. Now, at the end of all this, once it got reported and gets in the news, the Mets couldn't be quicker to issue a statement saying that the employee had been mistaken about the attire policy at the stadium and was reaching out to apologize to Moody, according to the outlet. The Mets understood how bad this looked. And honestly, here's the thing I'm going to tell you. The one thing that I have found time and time again, and it sounds like sort of a Karen move, but it's really not. Karen, K-A-R-E-N, Karen move. Ask when something like this happens and you know you're right and you know that other person is wrong, don't get ugly, don't get mad. Simply look that person in the eye and say, I'm afraid I'm going to need to talk to your supervisor about this. So could you please summon your supervisor here now? And if you get any kind of guff about it, you say, well, unless you can bring me here a supervisor, I'm going to go about my business here, and I dare you to do something about it. Do you think they're actually going to drag her out? No, the guy was bluffing. He was bluffing. And he was imposing, I guess, maybe his own personal beliefs on them and did not have the backing of a supervisor. If they won't bring you a supervisor, chances are they won't have the backing of the supervisor, and that will be the end of it. I'm sorry, my supervisor's not available. Well, fine. I'll be up in seat number some. If it's a problem, come see me. That'd be the end of that. I can't tell you the number of times that once you get somebody who is a supervisor, who has the larger view, that you get these things resolved. Know that you're right, and in this case, she was absolutely right. Don't ever hesitate to go up one level. And you know what you're going to find is most of the time, they'll back down. But, I'll tell you what, don't let anybody stand in the way of your First Amendment rights. And this is well within her rights to wear this baseball hat wherever she damn well pleases. And that's the end of that. 30 minutes now past the hour of 5 o'clock.
Good afternoon, 5:30. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Mostly sunny now, 83 degrees. A forecast and a traffic report are coming up. At the Democratic National Convention tonight, President Biden delivering the keynote address. ABC's Karen Travers, she is in Chicago and has the latest on the president's speech.
President Biden will be introduced tonight at the DNC by his daughter, Ashley. First Lady Jill Biden will speak before her husband, as will Senator Chris Coons of Delaware, a close friend of the president. The president spent the weekend at Camp David working on his speech with key advisors. Tonight is certainly not the speech he or his team were expecting he would deliver at the DNC this week, and it will likely be bittersweet and emotional. But aides say he'll make a very strong case for electing Vice President Harris.
Meanwhile, back in D.C., House Republicans issuing a President Biden impeachment report filled with, well, several familiar allegations, but still stopping short of recommending specific articles of impeachment. ABC's Jay O'Brien has that story.
House Democrats have said that the report issued by House Republicans is essentially this long screed of issues, but no smoking gun and no evidence of high crimes and misdemeanors. That's, in a sense, what their counter report argues. What Republicans have said is that they have demonstrated some kind of an ongoing business scheme on the part of President Biden's family members, his son and his brother, etc., to make money overseas. But what Republicans have not provided, even in that near 300-page report that they released today, is any kind of smoking gun linkage between those overseas business dealings and President Biden.
And finally, Phil Donahue, whose influential TV talk show aired for nearly 30 years, passed away earlier today. A family statement provided to ABC News by a representative of Donahue's wife of 44 years, that would, of course, be Marlo Thomas, saying that Mr. Donahue died last night of an undisclosed illness. He was 88 years of age. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, do you have back pain right now? You know what that is? That's pressure on your nerves. And we'd like it to be an easy thing, like pills or spinal cream that you could just, sort of apply and it would all be fine. But honestly, if you have pressure on your nerves, a couple of choices for you. One is surgery. And the other is non-surgical, non-invasive spinal decompression. I chose non-surgical spinal decompression at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Listen, I'm telling you, they have a state-of-the-art facility, the latest in high-tech equipment. They're offering cutting-edge non-surgical procedures. And because getting better is so important to Dr. Kevin Mitchell and Dr. Ashley, they're offering half off spinal decompression treatments and half off the KT knee machine. And if you're a new patient listening to this, here's the deal. You come in, you do an exam, you do an x-ray if you need one. A consultation will take place. They'll come up with a plan for you, and you will actually get your first treatment. And all of that will cost you $23. I mean, why don't you at least try that part of it and see if it's for you? I think you'll find that it helps. And it sure has helped me. I have pain in my lower back and pain in my neck, and I tell you what, I go there and I feel better. And I think it will work for you as well. I'm Brian Wilson, and I put my stamp of approval on the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009. Learn more at painisbad.com.
Hey, it's Dan Mandis, and I am so glad that California Closets has fixed my closet catastrophe. After exact measuring and planning, they came over and got to work. Yeah, once it was all plotted out on their 3D CAD system, the pieces are measured, cut, and precisely installed into my space. It was clean, fast, and professional, and above all, my new closets look and function great. Now, this was my dormer, and now this is my new dormer thanks to California Closets. Look at all of this added space for shirts and shoes, you name it, and it is cut so precisely, simply amazing. And my old closet that has now been reborn as the ultimate in style and functionability, making the best use of the space that I had. They can work on just about anything: bedrooms, garages, home offices, closets, pantries, and so much more. Find them online, CaliforniaClosets.com, and see what they can do for you. You can schedule a free design consultation. Mention my name, CaliforniaClosets.com.
How you doing out there? You making your way home? Everything going all right? Traffic bad? Hope it's not too bad for you. In the meantime, just settle back and I'll get you some information. This is tonight. The Democrats start their convention in a big way, and this will be Joe Biden's, sort of farewell address to Democrats. Oh, he'll probably do something else, as his term comes to an end. And because we have such great sources, we got a little sound clip of his practice. He's practicing his speech this weekend. And here is Joe Biden and some of the things he will say later tonight. He's an angry duck. He's an angry lame duck.
It's as coherent as I've heard him in a while, though.
Yeah, I know. And this is some of the best stuff I've heard. You're right. So that never gets old. Maybe it does. I don't know. But it doesn't to me. They're not cheap, tawdry sound effects.
No.
It's sound design. Sound design. They give Emmys for it. They give Oscars for it.
We don't have any, but they give them away.
I don't have I have a small Emmy, but I don't have a big Emmy. Here we go. Democrats praise Biden as they push him out the door. Commentary by Byron York. Sort of interesting, you know. Half-century career in electoral politics officially comes to an end Monday night in Chicago. It won't be voluntary. The 81-year-old president had planned for this week to be the moment he accepted the Democrat Party nomination. Instead, party insiders muscled him out of the race. He'll get the gold watch on the first night of the Democrat National Convention and then be escorted off the stage. Now, Joe, go back to the White House and be quiet. Say nothing. Do nothing. All this will be done amid lavish tributes to Biden. The more central the insider's role in pushing the president out, the more florid the praise. 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi, who told Biden he could either leave the easy way or the hard way, his choice, is actually suggesting that Biden's likeness be added to Mount Rushmore. Oh, they'll say nice things, but they kicked him right between you-know-what on the way out the door. It raises the question, if he's so great, and, you know, why did they get rid of him? Why did they push him out? Oh, they'll say things like Biden is passing the torch or that he's taking selfless action for his party, but they're not going to say why Pelosi and the others pushed him out. Indeed, in the months since it happened, neither Biden nor anyone in high position in his party has leveled with the public about his forced exit from the race. But, you know, goodbye, Joe. You got to go, me oh my oh. I'm telling you, he's out the door. In the meantime, on the very day that he gives his farewell address at the convention and everybody speaks about Joe Biden in glowing terms, House Republicans have issued a blistering report accusing President Biden of committing at least 2 offenses that would justify his impeachment. Delivering a political black eye to Biden just hours before he speaks on the opening night of the Democrat National Convention. The report says, among other things, that Biden engaged in an abuse of power, an obstruction of justice, or obstruction of Congress by corruptly abetting and concealing a $27 million influence peddling racket, which warrants proceedings that could result in his removal from office. The 291-page report was written by 3 House committees. Joe Biden has exhibited conduct and taken actions that the founders sought to guard against in drafting the impeachment provisions in the Constitution. Abuse of power, foreign entanglements, corruption, and obstruction of investigations into these matters. The committee's investigative work has revealed that the Biden family, with the full knowledge and cooperation of President Biden, has engaged in a global influence peddling racket from which they made millions of dollars. It compiled interviews, the committee did, interview transcripts with 30 witnesses, and involved in the issuing of another 30 subpoenas to compel testimony, and resulted in millions of pages of business contracts, bank records, and other documents. The report accuses Biden of aiding the shady business venture of first son Hunter Biden, first brother James Biden, and then attempting to cover the family's tracks by resisting oversight from Congress. Biden knowingly participated in a conspiracy to monetize his Office of Public Trust to enrich his family during and after his time as vice president in the Obama administration, the report said. Quote, Joe Biden's participation in his family's influence peddling represents, as quantified by sheer dollar amounts flowing to a public official's personal interests, one of the most egregious abuses of power uncovered in the history of the United States. And they are right. They are absolutely right. He should be impeached. These are impeachable offenses. Oh, everybody said, well, where's the smoking gun that shows that the money went to Joe Biden? It doesn't have to go to Joe Biden. I'm telling you right now, the Department of Justice has brought many cases over the years against elected officials who did not personally benefit, but the members of their family did, and they've gotten convictions. You see, it doesn't have to go to Biden. It can go to members of the family, and it has in huge ways. And that is an impeachable offense. That if we had a Justice Department that was worth its salt, they would have already brought these charges against him a long time ago. Now, they won't bring them while he's in office. The question is, what will happen after he leaves office? I mean, they went after Trump, right? Maybe they should go after Biden. I think it depends on who's the attorney general and who's the president of the United States. Kamala Harris is going to have no interest in going after Biden. And whoever she selects as her attorney general, oh, God forbid, please. Can you imagine Kamala Harris appointing the next attorney general? Please, please, please. Oh, what a scary thought that is. But one way or the other, if Trump gets in there, maybe this stuff will get investigated. And here's the thing you say, well, why doesn't Congress do its job? Well, Congress can't do its job because they don't have the votes. They don't have the votes in the very tight numbers that they have in the House because a couple, 2 or 3 House Republicans don't like the idea of bringing impeachment against the president of the United States. They just don't think it's a winning thing for them. And then even if they were to get it through the House, it would never be picked up or be taken seriously in the Senate because the Democrats control the Senate. But does that mean it's not an impeachable offense? No, it absolutely is an impeachable offense. As much as $18 million allegedly flowed from foreign entities to shell companies and other accounts linked to the first family members, from corrupt dealings that sold the Biden brand to associates in Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Russia, and China. Biden family associates, including former Hunter Biden business partners who testified to the panels, nabbed another $9 million in profits. All told, $27 million with an M dollars. The president spoke on the phone, and at times dined with foreign patrons, implying to them that in exchange for the payments, they had access to Big Joe that could project their business interests, the report by the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means Committee said. Oh, man, how frustrating is this? To have basically a case all sewn up with a big bow tied around it. I'm telling you, a good prosecutor could take this case to a jury and get a conviction. Absolutely. And the Democrats are all going, well, where's the smoking gun? Where's the evidence that Joe Biden personally profited? I'm going to say it again. You don't have to have that. It's still a violation to sell the influence of your public office and have other family members benefit from it. And the case law on this, there's plenty of it. Many, 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 many times, the Justice Department and U.S. attorneys have gone after politicians who kept it at arm's length by making sure that the wife or the daughter or some other family member benefited from his power of position, his position of power. And it doesn't have to be direct. You don't have to. Now, I think that there may even be one case where there was direct. There's one account out there that it's never been explained. I mean, there was an account for Hunter, there was an account for James, and then there was this other account for Biden. They didn't have a name attached, first name attached to it, just Biden. Which Biden was it? Let's get an answer to that. But, I think there is evidence out there, but it's never going to go anywhere. The speaker of that, there's all kinds of good reporting on this. These are all coming from conservative outlets, though. JustTheNews.com. House probe concludes Joe Biden committed impeachable offenses by helping to enrich his family. Here's from the Federalist. House report, Joe Biden's obstruction, sale of government power to foreign adversaries merit impeachment. The Speaker of the House says he hopes that Americans will read the GOP report on what the 3-committee impeachment inquiry called President Joe Biden's impeachable conduct. House Republicans commend the thorough, diligent, and thoughtful work of the Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means Committee, Johnson said in a statement. We encourage all Americans to read this report, which details the extent of President Biden's corrupt practices and the extent to which Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat Party have attempted to conceal these facts from the American people. Crooked Joe Biden. Can you imagine if Democrats had written a report about Donald Trump that outlined some of these things? the hue and cry, the screams, the coverage that would amount. See, you've got a few conservative outlets who are covering it. You're hearing about it on talk radio. You might hear about it on Fox. You might hear about it on Newsmax. You might hear about it in some other place that is a conservative outlet, but you're not going to hear it on ABC. And you're not going to hear it on CBS. And you're not going to hear it on NBC. You're not going to hear it likely on CNN. You're not going to hear it on MSNBC. You're not going to read about it in great detail on the pages of the New York Times or the Washington Post. And that, my friends, is wrong. He is, I think, absolutely, he has committed impeachable offenses, and maybe somewhere down the line, somebody will do something with this information, but at least now we know the truth. The truth is out there if anybody cares to read a 300-page report about it. 5:50 now on Super Talk 99.7. United Structural Systems is a foundation repair and waterproofing company that has served the Middle Tennessee area since 1994. Count it, folks, 30 years. More than 25,000 satisfied residential customer. And if you got a problem with foundation, if you got a basement or the place underneath your house, the crawl space needs to be waterproofed, well, why don't you give them a call? Right now is a good time to do it. They have some special back-to-school offers for you. Right now, 10% off any job over $2,500. 10%. That could save you real money. Financing, same as cash options available. No payment, no interest for up to a year with approved credit. It cannot be, however, combined with any other coupons or previously discounted quotes. Here's the thing about USS that I really like. Doesn't cost you a penny for them to come out and take a look and give you their best advice. They'll come out, they'll tell you what they got. No high pressure. They're not going to pressure you to do anything. They'll just tell you what you got. They'll tell you what it takes to fix it. And if you choose to go forward, you don't pay a penny until the job is done and you are completely satisfied. USS serving Middle Tennessee and Southwest Kentucky. They guarantee their best at USS. 615-488-7855. Learn more by going to their website, USSTN.com.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lock boxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
Busy bee, when you need heat or cold AC, you know the number, 775-7833. Listen, right now, of course, you know, it's the air conditioning unit. This is August after all. And if it's not working, maybe that old system, it just can't go any further. This is the time to purchase a new high-efficiency unit. And if you do, in the month of August, you will register to win the Healthy Hive giveaway, a $2,000 sponsorship to a local school of the winner's choice. Now, it could be any kind of school as long as it's within the service area, not out of region or out of state. Now, another thing that they have going, it's sort of a back-to-school theme, is BOGO, buy one, get one, for local teachers, faculty, and staff. If you sign up to become a member of the Beehive Club, which you should do, you really should, then you will get the opportunity to give a free Beehive membership to a teacher or a faculty or a staff member at any local school or higher education institution within the Busy Bee service area, right? Okay, some other specials, $100 off indoor air quality products, $250 off water filtration projects. And I'm telling you, I've done that at my house, and you will be well pleased. That water will be so tasty and delicious. Here's the number, 615-775-7833. Learn more at busybeehvac.com.
Good evening. It's 6 p.m. and I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. Still sunshine, mostly sunny, 83 degrees. Weather and traffic are on the way. Pro-Palestinian protesters marching from Union Square to the outer security perimeter of the Democratic National Convention today. Shortly before the convention opened, the demonstrators breached that security perimeter. ABC's Matt Gutman, he is there.
Police still trying to impose control. Riot police from both sides squeezing these protesters who've been marching for hours here, demanding that the Biden-Harris administration impose an arms embargo on Israel and an immediate ceasefire, but it devolved into chaos as soon as they started breaching this fence and pouring inside.
Disgraced former New York Congressman George Santos pleading guilty in federal court today. Derek Dennis has that story.
U.S. Attorney Breon Peace summed up the guilty pleas of George Santos bluntly.
After years of telling lies, former Congressman George Santos stood in the courthouse right behind me and finally, under oath, told the truth.
Santos accepting guilt for wire fraud and identity theft, then admitted in open court he committed a host of other crimes. Outside court, Santos was emotional and contrite, saying he betrayed the trust of his constituents and supporters, adding, "I deeply regret my conduct."
On the health front, there could be some new hope for people with Parkinson's. Here's ABC's Daria Albinger.
Right now, the only ways to manage Parkinson's disease are medications or deep brain stimulation, where electrical implants are used to mimic the effects of the drug. Both offer constant stimulation, which is sometimes more than a patient needs. Now, an implant, powered by artificial intelligence, may provide another means of treating the disorder. It monitors brain activity, and it can be turned up or down or even off when it's not needed. The study is in the journal Nature.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
The guaranteed offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.
It's 7 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. That's the first time I've been late.
I was wondering, man. I saw you coming up the stairs. Oh, there he is.
Catch my breath. Well, there was important stuff that had to be done. And it took a little longer than I thought it was going to take.
All right.
All right. Hang on. Can I have it just to catch a stray sip of water?
Yeah.
I'm really thirsty.
The Drive with Brian Wilson will resume momentarily. Please stand by.
How many times have we cut it that close? You ought to be honest. I mean, I'm usually back plenty of time.
Yeah, I can't remember that happening again.
No.
Honestly.
Well, it just, without getting too personal, I'm an older individual.
Nature
some
calls.
Some things take a little more time than they used to, and so it took me a little longer. But I'm back. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And in a moment here, I'm going to go forward because I have new stuff to talk about. I spent a lot of time, during the show looking at different stories, and then during the 6 o'clock hour, I like to go through one more time during the break and talk about things that that may have happened, new information that's come across our transom since I began the show at 3. I mean, 3 hours is a long time, and a lot can happen, and so I need to go back and make sure I don't miss any of it. So it's with that in mind that I will bring you some of these stories. I really am out of breath, which is so sad. I am so sorry. Illegal border crossings surpassed 12.5 million since Biden and Harris took office. That's the most in U.S. history, according to justthenews.com. U.S. Customs and Border Protection released monthly border apprehension data on Friday, saying statistics show the lowest southwest border encounters in nearly 4 years. You know why that is? I'll tell you why that is, because the Biden administration, if you're the coyote and you're, over there and part of the cartel and you're bringing people across on a regular basis, you're not stupid. You're not dumb. You've made a lot of money on the Biden administration because every time somebody comes across, I mean, it's like $10,000 to get people brought across the river safely and get them safe passage to the other side, knowing that, once they get to the other side, they'll be welcomed with open arms. And so if you're the cartel, you're looking and say, man, we've made a ton of money off of this deal, but we won't make a penny if Donald Trump becomes president. We won't make a red cent. He's going to shut it down, and he's going to come after us in a way that we've never been come after before. Look at me. I think Donald Trump, if he becomes president, will declare the cartels to be enemy combatants, and they'll come after them in a big way. And they know this. So what they need more than anything to continue to make a lot of money down the path is they take a little hiatus. It's just a few months. Well, just a few months, we will slow down the flow of people across the border. And soon as this election is decided, we'll be able to make a lot more money going forward. That's why things are so low right now. But if it was truly the Biden administration that's responsible for these low numbers that we're getting right now, why the hell didn't they do it 3.5 years ago? That's the question. No, it's had nothing to do with Biden. It's a lot more about the coyotes and the cartels trying to be smart because they really want a Democrat president in office. So there you go. Outrageous. I mean, I think the 12.5 million is really low. I personally, some people say it's 20 million. Some people say it's 50 million. I think it's probably about 15 to 18 million people who've come across. And, really honestly, they are illegal immigrants. I don't care what you want to call them. They are illegal immigrants. Illegal aliens is the proper term. There's nothing wrong with that term. It's the term that's actually used in the law to describe people who come to this country and they are not citizens. They are aliens. They are illegal aliens if they come to this country illegally. There's nothing wrong with that phrase. But there you have it. The official word from the Border Patrol is 12.5 million. And that, they told us early on, Add 20% to that. These are the ones we know about. Add 20% to that because those are the people that we don't know about, the so-called gotaways. And I think the gotaways are a lot more than they're willing to admit. New report from redstate.com. The nasty move Pelosi reportedly made to push Biden out. Oh, we're going to get the big swan song tonight from Joe Biden. He's going to get his gold watch. Everybody's going to talk about what a great guy he is. And if he was all that great, then why did they kick him out is the question. It's a great question. We already knew that Representative Nancy Pelosi was ruthless, but her moves in regard to Joe Biden truly prove she will do anything for power, even throwing out democracy and an old friend under the bus in the process. We've heard from her a bit on the subject already about what she said to Biden. Now a new report from multiple sources reveal how nasty she was in her approach. Pelosi sent an urgent message to the 81-year-old president last month while he was still nursing his COVID-19 infection. Yeah, I'm going to put that in quotes. I'm not sure it was COVID-19. There's some indication something happened in Nevada that they were hiding, and they are hiding from us. Because the police there were told to clear a pathway to the hospital because the president was, I forget the code they used for it, but the code that they used for it meant ailing, injured, or sick. But anyway, she sent this note to the 81-year-old president while he was allegedly recovering from COVID-19. This is according to the Daily Mail. Insiders tell the Daily Mail. Pelosi reportedly threatened to publicly trash her longtime friend and political ally if he continued to ignore thunderous calls to drop out of the 2024 election over fears for his cognitive abilities. Four sources close to the campaign told the outlet. Pelosi threatened to go public with her belief that her fellow Democrat wouldn't beat the Republican nominee, former President Donald Trump, in a rematch, and threatened to release humiliating polling data to back it up, the sources alleged. On top of the COVID and or the medical event he had in Las Vegas that he won't talk about, the new report does seem to fit with what Biden has said on the matter, and reports that he was privately fuming. Notice here that he talks about why he did it, how the media would be talking about what Nancy Pelosi had to say and how it would hurt the other Democrats. No, he didn't quit because it would be a distraction. He quit because he was afraid they were going to savage him because he knew enough about Nancy Pelosi and how she works. He knew that she would crank up the nasty to do him in, and didn't want to upset the perception that he has of his legacy in mind. What's really important to Joe Biden is that he be thought of in a positive way going forward, which is a complete impossibility since he's literally the worst president we've had since Jimmy Carter. So much for decades of friendship or the voters' votes. Even the New York Times' Maureen Dowd was calling it a coup. That she did this weekend in the New York Times, Maureen Dowd. Meanwhile, Pelosi tells the public he is so consequential that he deserves to be on Mount Rushmore. It shows how nothing that Democrats have to say is trustworthy. So on one hand, she's sending private messages to Joe Biden and telling Joe, you've got to get out. And then as soon as he gets out, he should be on Mount Rushmore because he's so consequential. He's right up there with Lincoln and Jefferson and Washington, Teddy Roosevelt. She thinks he's at least as consequential as Teddy Roosevelt, ladies and gentlemen. Right. So there's that. Another story. Biden's former chief of staff admits Kamala Harris's vice presidency was a failure. The New York Times headline Sunday, Shirley, might make you think that Harris had mastered the intricacies of her job. A vice president learning curve. How Kamala Harris picked her shots, it read. But after first describing how Harris was deliberate and disciplined despite the many pitfalls she faced as the first female vice president, the Times got into the point when they quoted Ron Klain, Biden chief of staff, former chief of staff, acknowledged that she, Harris, was not always well served by the White House. We were all united behind the idea she should be successful, but we didn't find the path to do it. People really liked her, Klain added, which nobody believes, especially her staff, which had a 92% turnover rate. People really liked her. There's a lot of enthusiasm for her, and I don't think we did a good enough job selling her. Frankly, that assessment makes all three of them claim Biden and Harris look incompetent. Political commentator and Fox News pundit Steve Hilton took note. Ron Clay admits Kamala Harris failed as vice president. We were all united behind the idea she should be successful. We just didn't find a way to do that. Well, maybe it's because she wasn't successful. Maybe she wasn't that good at what she did. Harris, this is big stuff. Listen to this. This is big. This is huge. Harris proposes raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, rolling back a Trump law. Vice President Kamala Harris is calling for raising the corporate tax rate to 28%, her first major proposal to raise revenues and finance expensive plans that she wants to pursue as president. Harris campaign spokesman James Singer told NBC News that she would push for a 28% corporate tax rate, calling it a fiscally responsible way to put money back in the pockets of working people and ensure billionaires and big corporations pay their fair share. As president, Kamala Harris will focus on creating an opportunity economy for the middle class that advances their economic security, stability, and dignity. You know what happens when you raise the corporate tax rate to 28%, nearly 30%, ladies and gentlemen? Corporations pull back. Corporations hire people. If you want the economy to thrive, you provide a great corporate tax structure for corporations, because corporations hire people, and when people are hired, the economy thrives. You start to raise the taxes on corporations, and you will see the economy go into a tailspin like you have never seen. They've barely got this thing, back to normal. I mean, there's still inflation that's above the 2% rate, which they said they needed to start cutting interest rates. But they are very close to having gotten through the worst of the inflation, the 9.1% inflation. If they got out of the way of the U.S. economy, it would have come back a lot quicker. But of course, they can't do that. The inflation, by the way, is absolutely the direct result of Joe Biden signing the Inflation Reduction Act, which is the most ill-named piece of legislation in the history of legislation. Raising the corporate tax rate to 28%. While you may not be in a corporation, you say, well, corporations can afford it. No, honestly, the corporations, they'll survive, but they'll survive by not expanding, by laying people off, tightening the belt, doing everything they can so they can pay their taxes. 28%. Outrageous. People have no idea. She doesn't understand a thing about business. It's all about price gouging. It's all those greedy corporations. We need to tax them more, and then we need to put price controls on them. Oh, unbelievable. 20 minutes now past the hour of 6 o'clock. Eurofix has a very different business philosophy. They staff all their locations with more staff than the average auto repair shop, just so they can be ready when your emergency pops up out of nowhere. Hey, have you ever noticed how hard it can be to get a right now appointment for vehicle repair? Some dealers, it can be more than 2 weeks just to get your car in the door, right? Well, not at Eurofix. Eurofix has been offering quality repairs that beat the dealer without dealer pricing since 1999. Plus, a 3-year nationwide warranty and the staff to fix your car now. If you're tired of waiting forever to get your car into the shop, then call Eurofix. Owner Aaron Stokes says we will never be too busy for our customers. We are here to take their pain away now. Eurofix repairs all European cars. Eurofix says yes to speedy repair when others can't or won't. Family owned for 24 years. Call this number, 844-EUROFIX, or visit myEurofix.com and tell them your friend and radio buddy Brian Wilson sent you.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
A West Nashville crash leaves a motorcyclist and a 3-year-old child dead. We'll have that story and today's closing money news. That's all coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
It is 25 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7. Brian Wilson here. We got Jay Harper in the newsroom and Chris Weber pushing all the blinky buttons and controlling me from the control room. That's really why they call it the control room. I've just decided that all this time I've been in broadcasting, I always thought that you were in the control room because you controlled the sound.
Yeah, you had it all wrong.
No, I've had it all wrong, yeah. Because you control me. And
as much as I can, anyway.
Well, as much as you can. I mean, you couldn't hurry me back in time to miss the top of the show. How long was the music playing before I stepped in?
About 35 seconds, probably.
Are you kidding me? Really?
Yeah. I was beginning to get concerned. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. I'm so sorry. I've been doing this now from the remote location. I don't know what, 3 years, 4 years. Whatever. Been 3 years
since COVID. Yeah.
Yeah, since COVID, and I think that's the first time that's ever happened.
I think so. Yeah.
I apologize, but for keeping the audience waiting. And then when I got here, I couldn't speak because I was so out of breath. I was running. I don't ever run, Chris. I don't ever run.
You were running? Were you?
I was running. Well, I was moving quickly. Let's put it. Okay. That's as close as I come to running, is to walk very fast. I apologize. I am so deeply embarrassed by that because I take this very seriously. I don't slough off here, but I just I was grabbing my big Buc-ee's cup, which people watching on TV can see, and I was filling it with water.
Yeah.
And I looked over at the clock next to the refrigerator and said, "Oh, crap, I am way late."
I got a text from Cabana wife saying he may be a bit late. He's on the way back.
He's on the way back. Oh, did you really? That's hilarious.
Of course, I didn't get that until I see your head pop up to coming up the stairs.
Coming up the stairs, right? People don't understand. I'm in basically in my studio, which is lovely. It's a beautiful studio. I'm so proud of it. Is basically upstairs above the garage, and so I got to come up a flight of stairs. And so I'm hot-footing it down the pathway, past the pool, through the gate, and up. And I have to go up a flight of stairs, and I'm doing the best I can. Then I got here, and I realized, oh my gosh! I mean, what were you planning to do if I didn't show up?
You know, I hadn't gotten that far. I'm thinking, oh crap, is Brian not coming back? Where did he go? What am I going to do now? And then I saw your head pop up, so I was like, oh, okay.
Well, one night I went downstairs during a break, and I forgot to turn the light on in the garage, and it was dark. It was during the wintertime, and it was dark down there. And I took a fall and scraped my knee. And so I just, rather than, I just came back upstairs and continued on while I was bleeding profusely. That's how serious I take this, you know. So I deeply apologize, Chris. I wouldn't ever want to put you in that spot.
Oh, don't let it happen again.
All right, I'll try and make sure, maybe another 3 years before something like that ever happens again. All right. Trump says that he would offer Tesla CEO Elon Musk a cabinet slot. I think that's a brilliant idea. Here's the thing that I love about Trump, I love about it so much, is that he walks into every situation without the conventional wisdom being an issue. I mean, conventional wisdom tells you a lot of times, you should do this because this is the way it's always done. And, he looks at that and he goes, well, why is that the way it's always done? Does it really make sense to do it that way? And one of the things that he was great at as president, and would be again, is he takes a look at everything and said, well, that's the way we've always done it, but does that really make sense? Isn't there a better way? And he looks at things from a business perspective. We would never do this in business. Why are we doing it in government? Because business is always more efficient than government. Let's see if we can do something. Let's get rid of some of this government. Let's do it differently. Let's deal with our foreign partners in a different way. And so he really is one of those people who thinks outside the box. And that is, I think, his great brilliance as a president. And as a result, we turned the economy around and things were really cooking and really percolating before we got into COVID, right? So again, I like that. I think that's exactly what we want in somebody who's going to be president. And then I look at Elon Musk and I say, here's another guy that even in the business world, which is usually a lot more innovative than government, he looks at things in a different way. I'll just give you a perfect example. He put together SpaceX and competed against rival Boeing, which had been in the aerospace industry for decades and decades, and built a capsule that successfully, and a rocket ship that will successfully go to the International Space Station without any hitch in the get along, everything perfect. Now, he blew up some rockets along the way, no doubt. He blew up some stuff, but every time he blew something up, he learned from it. And when he finally got it all perfected, it has been performing flawlessly. Now, that's not to say there won't be some tragic thing that happens someday, because rocket science is dangerous. I mean, it's not easy. But he's had a reliable record of getting people to the International Space Station, and yet Boeing finally got its capsule to the International Space Station, and we've got a couple of astronauts that have been stranded there for months now that should be on their way back. It's because he thinks outside the box. And so I would love to have Elon Musk taking a look at government and asking the question that needs to be asked at every level of government. Why are you doing it this way? It doesn't make sense. So I'm all in favor of more Elon and more Donald Trump. 30 minutes past the hour.
Good evening. It is now 6:31. I'm Jay Harper with your top stories. We're still mostly sunny and 83 degrees. A traffic report and weather coming up. A crash involving a motorcycle and a car last evening killed a 3-year-old and the driver of the motorcycle as well. Police say the driver of a Buick sedan, Delmas Wiseman III, was driving eastbound on I-40 and lost control of his car. He skidded toward the westbound lanes, and the motorcycle then struck the car's rear passenger door. The 30-year-old operator of the motorcycle died on the scene. Police also say 3 children, ages 3, 5, and 6, were in the car. And sadly, the 3-year-old died. She was not in a child safety seat. The driver of the car was the children's dad, according to police. The 5-year-old and 6-year-old are being treated for injuries at Vanderbilt Children's Hospital, but expected to be okay. Wiseman's license has been suspended. No word currently on if any charges will be filed. We now turn to today's closing money news, and for that, it's Daria Albinger.
From ABC News, Wall Street, now the roller coaster of a ride for stocks appears to be leveling off a bit. The Dow rose 237 points, the S&P added 54, and the Nasdaq closed up 245 points. The market's closing higher, coming off their best week of the year. Investors may be tentative ahead of a speech Friday from Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell, where he could give hints on how much the central bank is expected to cut rates at its meeting in September. General Motors is laying off more than 1,000 salaried software and services employees following a review to streamline the unit's operation. Retailers will dominate as earnings season comes to a close. Expect numbers from Lowe's, Ross Stores, Target, and TJX this week. Purdue Foods is recalling more than 167,000 pounds of frozen chicken nuggets and tenders. Some customers say they found metal wire embedded in the products.
That is the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Jay Harper, WTN News.
Hey, did you know gold is up 78% over the last 5 years? Silver up 99% in the same time period? What the U.S. dollar has lost 25% of its value since 2020. See, that's the result of government-induced inflation, stealing your wealth. And it doesn't seem that Washington, D.C. has any plans to stop. But gold and other precious metals are a great shield against that inflation theft. During an election year, the politicians will promise you they'll rein in their spending, but it's all campaign talk. They can't stop, and they know it. That's why no matter who is in office, gold protects you from the D.C. spending sprees. Where do you go to get that protection? Well, please reach out to my friends Kyle and Hannah at Nashville Gold and Coin. They will take good care of you and keep you well informed on all precious metals. Please act now and get your shield against out-of-control government spending. Go to NashvilleGoldandCoin.com. That's NashvilleGoldandCoin.com to set up your appointment today.
Hey, what's up, guys? This is Matt Murphy for Members Nutrition. I want to tell you about the Members Nutrition difference, and I want to encourage you to go over to the Members Nutrition website. Number one, they believe at Members Nutrition that they can sell vitamins and supplements at a lower cost point, and they're doing it every single day at membersnutrition.com. Number two, they want to make these products right here in the United States of America, not from some overseas company, and they do that every single day. I encourage you to go to membersnutrition.com. You'll get 50% off your purchase price at checkout. You don't have to put in any codes. Just go to membersnutrition.com. Once again, membersnutrition.com.
Let's call it 38 minutes past the hour of 6 o'clock. Just 22 minutes to go before we have a newscast, and then we turn it over to Mark Levin, the great one. So aptly named. He really is. You know, I just want to give you a little piece of advice. Don't watch the Democrat National Convention on any channel. Honestly, it's just going to make you mad. And so what I would suggest to you is, you know, look, Dan Mandis and Chris Hand and Matt Murphy and I, we'll all be watching, and then we'll report to you the important stuff you need to know. I mean, you know, we'll give you the good, the bad, the ugly, but I mean, I think, you know, we can save you a lot of aggravation because we'll just bring you the important stuff, and you don't have to put up with all the other stuff. So, you know, that's my recommendation. Take it, you know, if you want to watch. I'm not going to tell you you can't, but I'm just saying it's a good way to sort of, you know, we'll digest it for you. Dan Mandis will have the salient sound. And you know, and then we'll have the right analysis on it. We'll put it in the right perspective for you. You know, just take a break from it if you want, because we do it because we don't want you to have to endure that. That's the cross that we bear. That's the kind of guys we are. Helpful, you know. We don't want to make you suffer.
That's why you make the big bucks.
Really? When does that start? All right. So crime-filled Chicago displays what's wrong with the Democrats all in one failing city. I mean, is there a better backdrop for the failures of what the communists, the Democrats, are trying to do to this country? And you know, everything that's wrong about Democrat rule is on display in the city of Chicago. The Windy City. From Miranda Devine, a Devine article in the New York Post. If the message of this week's Democrat National Convention is we're going to make America more like Chicago, then run from the hills. After nearly 200 years of Democrat rule, the Windy City is a basket case. Soaring crime, high taxes, crippling debt, crumbling infrastructure, and a declining population are just some of the miseries inflicted on its citizenry. Chicago is the murder capital of America. With someone shot, are you ready for this? Every 2 hours. Every 2 hours in Chicago, somebody takes a bullet, and someone dies and is killed by gunshots every 17 hours. That's pretty remarkable. Every 17 hours, somebody dies in Chicago from a gunshot or a murder. So far this year, 353 victims, most of them black, have been murdered in Chicago. The homicide rate is 5 times higher than what is experienced in New York City. I want to say that again. The homicide rate in Chicago is 5 times higher than New York's homicide rate. Democrats wanted to hold the convention somewhere safer, but Beirut apparently was not available, quipped one wag. Of course, none of the unpleasantness will be visible to the 35,000 convention goers and the 15,000 media members descending on Chicago this week. The DNC has built a big wall around the convention area that it refuses to build at the southern border. See, I thought they saw that walls don't work. Well, we don't want to build walls. They don't work. Well, they're working in Chicago. You know, I will say, you know, having covered a number of conventions, you are inside a bubble. You know, you go inside the security zone, and you got to have the right credentials to go in there. You got to go through metal detectors. You got to go through a complete inspection of everything you're bringing into the security bubble. And once you get in that bubble, quite frankly, you know, it is, you are unaware of everything that's going on outside the bubble. You're cut off from it. I mean, the protesters are going on, but they're some distance away. And you are kept safe in that bubble, much safer than the people who are outside the bubble, where somebody is shot every 2 hours and somebody dies every 17 from gunshot wounds. Much safer. And by the way, she goes on, Mayor Brandon Johnson has temporarily suspended his anti-racist crime policies and ordered the city's beleaguered cops to enforce the law for once so that everyone will go home saying Chicago's crime wave is a MAGA conspiracy theater. Well, I didn't see anything there. I didn't see anything. When I was in the bubble, I didn't see anything. There are extraordinary efforts to make sure the Democrat convention is safe and protected, whereas people outside the bubble are being murdered on a weekly, daily, and hourly basis, says Gianno Caldwell, the Fox News analyst whose 18-year-old brother, Christian Beeman, was murdered in Chicago in a still unsolved 2022 shooting. Chicago has become the wild, wild west, says Caldwell, who has dedicated himself to helping victims of violent crime in his hometown through the foundation he calls the Caldwell Institute for Public Safety. He goes on to talk about this. All kinds of stuff happening there. Chicago businesses board up the storefronts and fear protests similar to those following the George Floyd murder. Because they're very nervous there that things are going to spiral out of control. Well, let's just do Chicago by the numbers. Number of homicides in 2023, 617. Increase in major crimes in 2023. After a 40% increase the year before, it went up an additional 16%. So in 2 years, major crimes have gone up 56% in Chicago. Well, let's talk about education. 25% of school kids are reading at grade level, which means that 75% are not. 75% of the kids in schools are reading at below level. 17% of Chicago's black students are reading at grade level. So that means that what? 13%? 17, 93, 80, 83%? 83%. 83% are not reading at grade level. It's hard for me to do math on the fly, but I got that one right, I think.
You did, yeah.
Yeah. Chicago students proficient in math, 18%. Black Chicago students proficient at math, 8%. Despite the shocking figures, this is the percent of high schoolers who graduated, meaning the majority were given meaningless diplomas. They graduated. Nobody's on reading at level. Nobody's doing math on level, but 87.6% of them graduated. Right? Give everybody a blue ribbon, send them on their way. They didn't learn a damn thing. Now, that's despite the fact that Chicago spends, are you ready? Basically, I'm just going to round it up here, $30,000 per student. Every student in Chicago public schools, they spend about $30,000 to educate that student, which just tells you that throwing money at the problem doesn't solve the problem. I saw this in D.C., where you had similar numbers. Kids were failing. The public school system in District of Columbia is an abject failure. It is so dismal, the numbers there. And they were spending more money than this, I think, at the time, and it wasn't doing a bit of good. Throwing money at the problem doesn't solve the problem. It's about the teachers. It's about the curriculum. It's about discipline in the classroom so kids can have an environment where they can learn. Yet, in Chicago, average teacher is paid $93,000 a year. I think that's roughly 3 times what we pay beginning teachers in the state of Tennessee. So paying teachers more is not the answer, but right now the teachers union is asking for another $10 to $13 billion. All right. The budget in Chicago, $16.6 billion. How much Chicago owns in its pensions funds? $37.2 billion. How much has the city spent on the migrant crisis in the last year? $361 million. And they will spend at least another $150 million this year. This is why so many people are leaving Chicago. They're fleeing Chicago by the thousands. Number of residents lost in 2023, 8,208 people left Chicago. Said, adios, muchacho. And it has lost 128,000 residents since 2015, reached its lowest population level since 1920. They're leaving. They're running, they're fleeing, and they're ending up in places like Middle Tennessee, Florida, Texas. Chicago's unemployment rate, way worse than the national average, 6.2%, the worst of the nation's 50 largest metro areas. The tax burden on a median Illinois family income is 13%. That's according to an analysis by Money Geek, which gave the state an F. Rocket Mortgage says Illinois has the second worst property tax burden, ranking only higher than New Jersey. No wonder people are leaving. They can't afford to live there. And if that weren't enough, the cities, they share a city. You share a city with the worst team in baseball, the White Sox. 95 losses, 30 wins, still a month left to play.
They could set the all-time record for losses in a season.
Yeah. So there is no bright spot in Chicago to point to. I mean, it's a dangerous place to live. The kids, we're not doing right by the kids there. They're not getting an education. The education system there, although they're spending $30,000 a student and paying teachers on average about $93,000, they're not doing the job. They're not getting it done. Kids are not learning, but they're being graduated anyway, sent out into the world. Good luck. They're spending too much money. They're taxing too heavily. And people are fleeing by the thousands. Yes. And how's that Democrat leadership working out for you, Chicago? How's that working for you? See, again, we need to point this out to America. And I'm not sure anybody will, but I love this article by Miranda Devine talking about what it really like it is in Chicago. And the reason that it's like that is pretty easy to discern. There hasn't been Republican leadership in that city for more than 100 years. So, what a great place for the Democrats to tell their story. 50 minutes now past the hour.
The Guaranteed Offer is the easiest way to sell your home. It's really simple. We bring you an all-cash offer. You close in as little as 21 days. No home inspections, no lockboxes, no open houses. Go to markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer and start packing.